Good morning. Hamas signed the first phase of the Gaza peace deal.
And President Trump hails the breakthrough as a historic and unprecedented event.
Yeah, I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly.
The US president says hostages could be released as early as Monday. So will this deal finally get over the line and bring peace to the Middle East?
And legal experts question reasoning behind the Crown Prosecution Service dropping the China spies case.
The next Conservative government will abolish...
Kemi Badenoch promises to abolish stamp duty for primary homes in a surprise announcement at the Conservative Party conference.
And Sir Keir Starmer has said the UK will not relax visa rules for India as he visits the country for trade talks.
And in sport this morning, Manchester United co-owner Jim Radcliffe says manager Ruben Amorim will get 3 years to prove himself. We'll see about that. As they take on Wales tonight, Thomas Tuchel has said that England are underdogs at the World Cup, which is not surprising as we haven't won it in 60 years. And the Ryder Cup of Padel begins today in London.
Hello there, good morning. We'll see any fog patches clearing away through the course of the morning, leaving a brighter day, though there's also some drizzle in the forecast. Stay tuned and I'll have all the details.
Good morning. It's just gone 6 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Charlie Peters, and this is GB News Breakfast.
And let's start with that breaking news overnight that Israel and Hamas have signed the first phase of the Gaza peace deal in what President Trump is hailing a historic and unprecedented event.
Well, this is the moment that President Trump was interrupted during a roundtable event by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, where he was handed a note about the deal being very close. It led to this announcement.
Yeah, I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly.
Well, the deal will see Israel withdraw their troops from an agreed-upon zone.
Well, in reaction, Israel's Prime Minister said he would not rest until all the hostages were home, while Hamas has urged President Trump to make the deal happen without delay.
Well, as Israelis and Palestinians celebrated the news, the US president told hostage families that their loved ones would be home by Monday.
Just take care of yourselves. The hostages will come back. They're all coming back on Monday.
Well, let's speak to GB News political correspondent Catherine Forster, live for us in India. Catherine, good morning. What's the Prime Minister's reaction been to this breaking news?
Yes, good morning from Mumbai. Well, we've had some words from the Prime Minister. He said, I welcome the news that a deal has been reached on the first stage of President Trump's peace plan for Gaza. This is a moment of profound relief that will be felt all around the world, but particularly for the hostages, their families, and for the civilian population of Gaza, who have all endured unimaginable suffering over the last 2 years. Goes on to talk about being grateful for diplomatic efforts of Egypt, Qatar, Turkey and the US, and says that the agreement must be now implemented in full without delay, and accompanied by the immediate lifting of all restrictions on life-saving humanitarian aid to Gaza. So paying credit, yes, to President Trump, who absolutely has been key in this deal, but also to all the other countries that have been involved. We understand, don't we, that the remaining 20 hostages who are alive are set to be released on Monday. I think there's another 48 who are deceased. Their bodies should be recovered over the coming weeks. A huge breakthrough. Of course, it has to be ratified by the Israeli parliament, but that looks likely. And here in Mumbai, In the last few minutes, the Prime Minister has been greeting the Indian Prime Minister, Modi, in a quite incredible setting. The residence of the governor of Maharashtra on a peninsula on a lawn fringed with palm trees. A very successful day here yesterday, the announcement of 3 new Bollywood films. He's got 125 business leaders in tow. Today, he will be heading off to a FinTech conference, and everywhere in this city there are pictures of the Prime Minister. It is like nothing I have ever seen in my life.
Forster there for us in Mumbai. Thank you very much.
Well, it's quite an extraordinary moment last night when President Trump was informed that this was the case. That he was making a press conference, making an update on what they're dealing with Antifa, what he's describing as far-left violence in the United States. And suddenly, he was passed a note by Marco Rubio, Secretary of State, saying, we're almost there. A photographer from the Associated Press captured a bit of the writing with a long lens, said, very close.
Oh, wow.
Read the scroll. First 2 words there, underlined. And it says, we need you to approve a Truth Social post soon so you can announce deal first. It's been described in the Telegraph as a deal made for TV.
Yeah, absolutely. And talking about made for TV, there was a photograph, I hope we can show it, it's of Marco Rubio whispering in President Trump's ear about being very, very close to securing this first phase of the Gaza deal. And that photo, I think, will go down in the history books if indeed this does come to pass. Let's hope it does.
Yes, indeed. Well, let's speak to Defence Editor at The Standard, Robert Fox. Good morning to you, Robert. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on GB News Breakfast. This is an extraordinary moment, obviously, for the Middle East, but also for this president, describing himself now as the peace president in the United States.
I don't think we should get ahead of ourselves too much on this. We've been here before. We've got a long way to getting hostages released. Some hostages have been released. It isn't that the devil is in the detail. The devil is in some of the headlines here, because there are parts of the overall package that Netanyahu said he won't go for. One of the things to look at is exactly what they do with the Israeli Defense Force army, where they'll withdraw to. And on the other side is the discussion about the list of Palestinian prisoners that Hamas want released. And a name to look for, particularly, is one of the charismatic leaders of the Palestinians, Marwan Barghouti, who has, on multiple terror charges, who's been in prison, a convicted terrorist prisoner in an Israeli jail for 20 years now. We've just got to watch it step by step, but it looks good. First deadline, I think, comes at around noon our time, which is when there should be a comprehensive ceasefire in Gaza.
And what are you thinking at this point could be the major risks and obstacles? Because I'm getting the fact that you are somewhat dubious of this plan at this point. What do you think the major spoilers or threats could be to all of this?
Netanyahu's cabinet, his critics in his government, the people we know very well now, like Ben Gvir and Smotrich, who represent the settler movement, and even within his own party. Look at a figure like Yuval Levin, who is deputy prime minister. He's got to sell this to them, and they've been quite hard over about a deal over Gaza. And of course, we've got to look further down the line, and this will be discussed and will have to be signed off if this goes beyond immediate euphoria, as I put it, is that what is the future of Hamas and who is going to run the Palestinian people who are in terrible distress, as we know, over 2 million of them in Gaza.
And of course, Robert, at the same time that they are demanding that Hamas steps down, it lays down its arms and that it disbands, we're having this extraordinary moment where 20 living hostages, innocent people, are being swapped for nearly 2,000 Palestinian prisoners, many of them themselves terrorists, including some of them being key facilitators, as you've pointed out. It's quite difficult, isn't it, to tell Hamas to lay down its arms while also returning several of its worst offenders?
Well, yes, indeed. One of the problems is also going to be is is Hamas really going to roll over and virtually, or actually, politically speaking, get out of Gaza? Because if they don't have hostages anymore, what leverage do they have? I mean, in the moment of euphoria, we're not discussing this at the moment, but in the next 24, 48 hours, we will. And to see whether this thing is really going to fly, and by the way, the Americans seem to have done some really good, tough, and quite detailed negotiation. And it's the combination, I think, led by Steve Witkoff, we know about the president's special envoy, and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, who really has the ear of the Gulf Arabs, particularly Saudi Arabia as well. And it's what they are prepared to do. By that, I mean the Gulf states and Saudi Arabia and Egypt, plus Jordan, plus Turkey. They're the key players now, because I think that they have to come up with the arrangement, they will come up with the arrangement of how to police this.
So, Robert, what are the next few days going to look like? What can we expect to see?
We'll be feeling our sweaty brows and our pulses about whether the ceasefire happens, first of all. Second, or not so second, at the same time, whether Hamas is as good as its word and releases the hostages. I'm afraid we have to put it like this: living and dead. 48 in all on the list, 20 known or thought to be alive. Those will be the first tests. We have to watch for whether there will be breaches of ceasefire. There always are. It's such a complex battlefield, and indeed it still is a battlefield, particularly in Gaza City itself right now. But it's whether there is the real intent of the Israeli Defense Force army to pull back, and the same on the other side with Hamas, because the problem with Hamas now is it's so articulated, sorry to put it like that. You've got Hamas leadership in Qatar, which they tried to take out a month or so ago, and then you've got the gunmen. And these are fighters. These are terrorist fighters who are deep in the system. By that, I mean the systems of tunnels and bunkers in Gaza. And they have gone on and on and on, almost in spite of and almost in contempt of the terrible distress of the 2.2 million Gazan citizens who are in a terrible state. And another part of it we do have to put in is, of course, is getting aid in very quickly, particularly water, particularly shelter, particularly medicines too, not just food.
And Robert, that's actually something that the Prime Minister is demanding now. As part of his statement this morning, he is thanking Qatar, Turkey, United States, etc. for their involvement, but also now saying that humanitarian aid must enter the enclave as soon as possible. Do you expect that amid the very difficult security scenario, particularly in the north of Gaza, that is going to be achievable?
It can be achievable, but it's the standoff, as you rightly seem to be hinting at, that the American administration has had over the UN, because the Gaza Assistance Charity, the NGO set up under American auspices, the Gaza Humanitarian Force or Fund, GHF, has been extremely controversial, as you know, and I think that the Arab coalition, as we have to call it, not exclusively Arab because Turkey's in it, that they will demand some modification of that. They will demand some international presence, and I think that this is where wider Europe comes into the picture. I think Britain, France, Germany, the Netherlands, who are always big players in this, will be asked to lend logistical and planning effort, very experienced, to deal with this, because it's not an easy job just to send in aid to stabilize that population, which is hugely traumatized as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Robert Fox, good to have you on the programme this morning, as always. Thank you very much.
Right, well, let's get a check-in on your weather with Hannah Criswick.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any fog patches soon clearing away this morning, leaving a mostly bright day for many, though some drizzly outbreaks expected at times in the west. So Northern Ireland, southwestern parts of Scotland, also northwest England, will see a constant feed of drizzle out from the west, so it could be quite damp at times here, particularly across any hilly areas. Elsewhere, we'll see a mix of cloud, also some bright, if not sunny spells at times, and where we see those, it will feel warm and pleasant in the sunshine. Highs reaching around 17 to 18, possibly 19 degrees Celsius across parts of the southeast. Even eastern Scotland should see a warm afternoon. Now we'll start to see a change across Scotland through the course of the afternoon. It could turn quite breezy, particularly around coastal areas in the west. And once again, we'll see this constant feed of cloud, some drizzle, particularly across western hilly areas. There's slightly drier and brighter end to the day across the far east of Scotland. Northern Ireland, similar, fairly cloudy with some drizzle at times. Northwest England could see fairly similar conditions. Even across Wales, we could also see some drizzle across the hills. But for most areas, it should be another dry night. But once again, we'll see plenty of cloud start to feed its way in from the west. The best of the clearer skies are probably going to be across eastern England, but where we see any prolonged clear spells, that means we could be in for a chance of mist and fog during the very early hours of Friday. With plenty of cloud around, that does mean it should be a mostly mild night. Many towns and cities dropping around 9 to 10 degrees Celsius. So for the end of the week, it could be quite a grey, gloomy start, particularly across western Scotland, where we'll continue to see drizzly outbreaks. But through the course of the morning, that cloud should lift and break, any mist and fog clearing away, and that should allow some sunshine to develop, particularly across eastern Scotland, northeastern parts of England, though parts of southern England and Wales could hold on to that cloud through much of the afternoon. But still, once again, where we see the bright and sunny spells, it should be another warm day, highs of around 18 degrees Celsius.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now at 16 minutes past 6, it's time now for our daily reflection.
The GB News Daily Reflection.
Hello, my name is Joel Knights and I'm a vicar in the Church of England. Sometimes it feels like words can reshape the world. Soaring speeches, breathtaking poetry, the words "I love you" spoken for the first time, the naming of a newborn. But sometimes it feels like words have no power at all. Perhaps most of all in times of grief. The times where there are no words, for there's nothing to say. Where words can't pierce the sorrow, where tears, hugs, bowed heads are all there is. In Luke chapter 7, Jesus faces a time just like that. It's a funeral procession for a widow burying her only boy. A tragedy atop a tragedy, and it's no time for words. And yet Jesus moves toward the coffin, stops the procession, and opens his mouth. "Young man, I say to you, get up." There's no room for Jesus to hide at this point. He stands in the middle of the road, surrounded by a funeral procession, treating this boy's death like an afternoon nap. And the question is, what sort of power did Jesus' words have? Can they pierce the grave? Can they sneak past death? Can they reverse our final journey?
Still to come, we will bring you the very latest on that Gaza deal. But first, Kemi Badenoch plans to abolish stamp duty if she took to the Keys to Downing Street. Could this popular policy save the Tory leader? This is GB News with Ellie and Charlie.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie's tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Cates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Now, there's still plenty of time to get your entry into our biggest Great British giveaway to date. Your chance to win 30 grand in tax-free cash and a brand new 4-berth motorhome. Here are all of the details that you need.
You're not going to want to miss our greatest Great British giveaway so far. You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. And remember, if you can dream it, you can drive it away. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th of November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Good luck. Well, Kemi Badenoch, she's vowed to abolish stamp duty, calling it a bad tax, as she delivered her keynote speech as Conservative leader in Manchester.
I have looked at the rates you have to pay to see if we can lower them. I have decided that we can't, because that simply wouldn't be enough. Conference, the next Conservative government will abolish stamp duty on your home.
Well, she told party members only the Conservatives can restore a strong economy and secure borders, accusing Labour of a borrowing and tax doom loop.
Well, let's speak to political commentator Theo Usherwood. Thank you very much for joining us this morning,
Great
Theo.
to be with you.
Now, Tim Stanley in The Telegraph said that this announcement will be received in his neck of the woods, which I think is Kent, like the fall of communism. That's how unpopular stamp duty is. This is quite a bold step for Kemi Badenoch.
It's a very bold step from Kemi Badenoch, and it felt like a proper Conservative speech from a proper Conservative leader. And Kemi Badenoch now owning the ground on the right when it comes to economic policy. Of course, she's facing significant competition from Nigel Farage. The Tories have had a bad year under her stewardship. But this felt like there was still some fight left in her, and she's putting the argument to Labour when it comes to the economy ahead of the budget, that actually she's going to cut taxes. And I think Tim Stanley's right. It will be received very well right across Middle England. But I think more broadly, because many people, still have aspirations and dreams to own their own home, and stamp duty prevents that so often from happening. And it has a huge knock-on impact in terms of a positive impact on the economy, because you've got people needing solicitors, builders, going to John Lewis or IKEA to furnish their homes. We were talking about this a few moments ago, Ellie, and it's a really positive step from Kemi Badenoch. The question, though, is will it land with the wider public? It feels increasingly like the Tories now, ahead of the next May's elections, are an English party. They're going where we're going to see Reform do very well against the SNP and possibly a little bit of Labour up in Scotland. They've been completely squeezed out of Wales, and if she doesn't manage to turn it around in material terms, in terms of those local elections and the polls before next May, it's very difficult to see how she can survive.
But this keynote speech, if anything, do you think it's bought her time?
Yeah.
Big questions about leadership, challenges, talks about Robert Jenrick succeeding her potentially. But do you think this was a speech that made the plotters think twice?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's completely correct. Going into this conference, if it had gone badly, if she'd fluffed her lines, if she'd fluffed her speech, we're just around the corner now from that year grace that she has as Conservative leader. I'm sure there'd have been moves against her. And I think there will be those who now looking, who are very critical of her leadership, who will just be saying, let's hold off a little bit. We'll get to the next May's elections, and then look again to see whether she's actually making any headway where it really matters in the local elections and in the polls. But if it doesn't turn around in that regard, then the Conservatives, the party has a very quick mechanism for deposing leaders and installing someone else. And we saw, for however well Kemi Badenoch did, and she did have a good conference, Robert Jenrick was still dominating the headlines, wasn't he? He was still, with the comments that he made about Birmingham, he was still the tallest poppy in the field.
Theo, I mean, the Conservatives are probably the only party in the world polling at around 16%, where they could produce a conference of that size and scale, smaller than it was than previous years, and also produce a proper, fully costed economic policy that's captured a lot of attention. It shows there's still something in the sort of the DNA of that party. There's a lot of life there.
There is, but you know, Charlie, because you spend time out and about reporting and speaking to people, that out there in the country, it feels, especially for Conservative councillors who go out and are knocking on doors and activists, that so many people are now switching over to Reform. I've been down to Kent and just chatting to people down there recently. Everybody's voting Reform. They've given up on the Conservative Party. So yes, this I think has bought her time, but they really do need a turnaround. And this is the Conservative Party is the oldest, most successful political party, not just in this country, in the world, and it is still on life support.
Can I ask you about this China spy trial? Because Keir Starmer is facing big questions over the collapse of this trial. Tell us more.
Yes, so Keir Starmer gave a statement 2 nights ago in response to allegations that Number 10 had stepped in to, in effect, block this trial from taking place for fears of upsetting Beijing. We know how important the Chinese government is for when it comes to trade. Rachel Reeves has visited China. David Lammy, when he was Foreign Secretary, has visited China. And the allegation was that we stepped into a very important, the government stepped into a very important judicial process that was taking place to try 2 men for spying on China, for spying for China against this country in order to spare the blushes of Beijing. And that by doing so, that would in effect give carte blanche to the Chinese Communist Party to continue spying in this country. Keir Starmer made a statement in which he said that at the time the decision was made to bring the criminals to when these individuals had committed the offences and they were charged, what happened when the decision went to number 10, and this was under the Conservative Party, China was not designated a threat to this country, and therefore it would not be possible at the time to provide corroborating witness statements to the prosecutors to say that there was an inherent danger to national security. Now, this has been contradicted yesterday by the head of MI5, the head of MI6, which explicitly described China as a threat to national security. Indeed, Richard Dearlove quoted elsewhere, the former head of MI6, has said the case should now be reopened because what had happened was unthinkable. But there's a row going on between the security community, the security intelligence communities, and number 10 as to exactly what the position was when it came to China at the time and why this decision was taken.
Of course, now the Director of Public Prosecutions are all formally held by Sir Keir Starmer, coming out, making a very rare intervention, saying we were trying to get evidence from the government for many months, and it failed. Of course, I think this is now going to fall into a bit of a political row between the parties as well.
Exactly, and it's difficult. I understand what's on the front pages. It's a story that matters, but how does it become a political attack line for Keir Starmer's opponents? It's difficult to see how this is one of those stories that, at the moment at least, rolls out to become something that can come up week after week at Prime Minister's questions, as opposed to the failures over the child grooming gangs. I don't think it has that. It has that gravitas and purchase. Yeah.
Okay, Theo, good to see you this morning. You're with us all morning, aren't you? What a treat! Great, we'll see you in the next hour.
Right, well, if you are travelling to work or school, here is your traffic and travel update, and stay with us also on digital and radio.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Currently, access to the A9 southbound at North Kessock is unavailable due to essential overnight roadworks, expected to continue until late morning. Motorists are strongly advised to follow the clearly marked diversion routes and allocate extra travel time to avoid significant delays in their journey. On the trains, passengers should anticipate significant cross-country service disruptions affecting travel between Brockenhurst and Redbridge. Furthermore, due to scheduled maintenance work, Northern has temporarily replaced trains with bus services on the route connecting Corkicle and Whitehaven. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Well, still to come, we've got Paul Coity with all the sports. We're talking about what is called the Ryder Cup of Padel? Padel?
I think Padel is the right way to pronounce it, but I don't
as well. He's got a special guest. That's all coming up next here on GB News with Ellie and Charlie.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's News Channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, DC.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Breakfast. It's sports time with Paul Coyte.
It's not Padel.
It is Padel.
It's not Padel.
Someone told me once that's how you pronounce it.
Why would you think it was Padel?
It's the single D. Yeah.
Padel.
Padel.
Bit of a Euro.
But you don't want it to be paddle, as in one of those.
Yeah, because it would be double D if it was paddle.
Yeah, yeah. So this is the tennis-like game, and there's
everyone's going mad for it, aren't
pickleball and paddle, which is huge. Yeah. And you know what? There's actually, it's almost like the Ryder Cup of paddle. See, every time. Ben Nichols is the founder of the Anglo-American Padel Cup. And hopefully we have Ben. Morning, Ben.
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, everyone.
Ben, put us straight for crying out loud and tell these Padel fools that it's paddle.
Or Padel.
I'm going to set the record straight here. It is paddle. However,
Thank you, sir.
Very timely you mentioned Padel, because a lot of Americans call it Padel, and I could bore you with but we need to set those Americans straight.
Ben,
it's paddle.
They're not just Americans that are calling it Padel. There's certain sorts of Americans that are calling it Padel, right?
Look, it is strictly it's paddle. You ask a Spaniard or anyone from one of the original countries, absolutely it's paddle. There's various reasons. Some in America are calling it Padel to distinguish it from another racket sport which uses a paddle, P-A-D-D-L-E. But it very much is paddle, and I think it's going to be widely adopted as that name right across the state.
Now, that's us told.
I'm sorry, but you'll still say Padel, won't you?
I'm going to try and
I know you are. So tell us about the other sport, which is very similar, because you didn't actually say what it was, and is there a little rivalry between the two sports?
So there's a sport in the northeast of the US which is played called platform tennis, and as it happens, its nickname is paddle, as in P-A-D-D-L-E. So someone, I guess, when our paddle was getting going in the US, decided to try and distinguish it by saying, well, we don't want to name it the same as platform tennis, so why don't we call it Padel and put the intonation there?
And what about the pickle? Where's the pickleball, though? Is completely different or very similar still?
Completely different sport, and if I'm honest, different demographic. And pickleball's been all on the rise across the US, but we're starting to see paddle now really make its mark, and it's got a huge potential in America.
But paddle is really huge here now, isn't it? The amount of places that are opening up all the time. I'm still desperate to play. Have you played, Ellie?
I haven't, but my husband, still getting used to that, tries to book onto courts, and you can't get a space in London.
Right.
If you want to play paddle.
You've played, haven't you?
I've played, yeah.
Have you?
I've played it.
Do you struggle to get a spot or a court?
Well, the first time I played was in Cape Town, South Africa. So
there you go. He's international.
But my cousin Sam, he's setting up paddle courts all over the country. He's a bit of a businessman.
Well, it's not a silly sausage. There's a lot of money to be made.
And there is so much demand, and he is opening them all the time.
Well, Ben, we should say that there is so much demand. There is a huge tournament now. This is the Ryder Cup of paddle, isn't it? Which starts tomorrow in London, which you're the founder of. So the Anglo-American Paddle Cup. So tell us about that.
Absolutely. So paddle, you're right, is on a rapid rise across the UK. There's about 1,500 courts now. That's up from 750 at the start of the year. So, massive increase. You're seeing kind of around 40 to 50,000 new players step on court in Britain each month. So it's a huge growth with the sport. And in the US, I'd say it's a couple of years behind, but it's really on a rapid rise as well. So we thought, myself and my two co-founders, we thought, isn't this a nice story? You've got Britain and America, two of the most historic, storied sporting countries, and with a great relationship of many years gone by, which obviously had the Ryder Cup originally between them, the Davis Cup in tennis, America's Cup, you name it. There's a great story there. But the twist and the irony is we're both new kids on the block when it comes to paddle. Why don't we do this for paddle? And we thought the timing is great. Both countries are at similar-ish stages of their paddle journey very early on. And we wanted to create this, and if not, someone else would in time. So first one is in London tomorrow. It's going to be a fantastic celebration of these two countries, cultures.
Whereabouts is it? Can anybody come and see it?
Yeah, absolutely. Paddle Hub in North London. So if you're travelling up top of the Northern Line, we welcome anyone to come up and see what this sport's all about. And any Americans in London, absolutely, we want you to come and cheer loudly for your team.
Good luck for the Brits. My paddle journey has yet to begin, but I'm sure it's very close there, Ben. I'm looking forward to getting involved. Thanks a lot for your time. Good luck over the weekend, and give our best to everybody taking part.
Thanks, Ben.
Brilliant.
Bye, Ben.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks for clearing up our row.
See, Charlie's let me down. I thought he was going to say, well, I played paddle. It was in Cap Ferrat in the south of France. I thought it was going to be something. I thought it was going to be something like that. Cape Town was a bit of a letdown there for Charlie.
Not so bad. The mountains on the side, with a sea breeze.
Lovely.
Yeah.
You probably have played it in the south of France as well, haven't you?
Do you know what? Not a holiday in the south of France. Not really
not
really my place.
That surprises me.
It's a bit common, isn't it?
Yeah, I always find it's so passé. It's so 1920s of F. Scott Fitzgerald, isn't it?
This is devastating. I grew up watching this man as the host of my football club. I come in here and he just snipes me constantly.
Oh, I love you, Charlie.
It's all love. It's all love. And I think you should play paddle together.
I think that would be great.
That would go down.
That's what we will do. Yes. Okay.
That would be immense.
Very nice.
Lovely.
And I'll come and join you for a coffee afterwards.
Okay, lovely.
I don't think I'll be partaking in the sport. But anyway, do stay with us. Still to come.
Yeah, I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly.
We'll bring you the very latest on that breaking news on the first phase of the Gaza peace deal being signed in the papers with Christo Fufas and Scarlett Maguire. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast across Europe.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Some unsettled weather across eastern areas of Spain. Storm Alice is set to bring heavy showers and also some thunderstorms. Mostly dry and settled across Madeira and also Tenerife, but all eyes on eastern areas of Spain. Some intense thunderstorms here likely to bring some localised flooding. A few showers across parts of Sardinia on Friday, but elsewhere, once again, mostly dry and settled. Plenty of sunshine, and this theme will continue over into the weekend with warm temperatures too, widely in the mid to high 20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Lee, Purvis Lee, I think last night there were probably 10 million armchair judges watching, but what was your verdict on what you saw?
I thought it was fantastic. I was slightly taken aback at how harsh the judges seemed to be, certainly for the first week of them at voting. I think Karen Carney's jive was fantastic, made me want to take up jiving. And I think Ross King got off really badly, actually. I felt quite sorry for him. I was quite surprised at how harshly marked he was. And having met him several times, obviously, in the showbiz scene and as a fellow journalist, you know, I knew how utterly nervous he was. And I think it's going to be a bumpy ride for all the contestants this year. The judges are really focusing on the footwork on the floor, and absolutely everyone needs to sort of up their game. But it's absolutely fabulous. You know, more than 100,000 sequins involved in the show that we saw last night, and it can only get bigger and better.
I think that that first programme is always the opportunity for people more to decide who is likely to get the chop rather than those that are going to make it through to the glitter ball. Because, I mean, you know, so many people are so close with their marking last night, and so many of them clearly show the opportunity of getting better as they go week after week. But it is usually quite easy to find, I think, who's going to be thrown out. What do you think?
Well, so I think Ross King, definitely, we'll see him probably go in literally a matter of weeks. I think Stephen Dennis, who played Paul Robinson for many years on our screens in Australian soap Neighbours, I don't think he's going to be in it for much longer either. Again, I felt quite sorry for him, and also having to dance to the theme tune of Neighbours was just pure genius.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. We're going through the papers in the company of journalist Christo Fufas and former Labour advisor Scarlett Maguire. Morning, you two.
Morning.
Good morning. Christo, let's start with the front page of The Times, shall we? And a big rabbit out of the hat from Kemi Badenoch yesterday.
Yeah, and I think credit where it's due after probably a pretty mediocre year as leader. I think Kemi Badenoch knocked it out of the park yesterday with her speech, and actually it was full of policy, which is always a good thing. And I mean, she's not Prime Minister yet, she would say, but one of the big policy announcements was abolishing stamp duty. I think that this is a genius idea. Stamp duty is a tax. It's the tax you pay to the government when you buy a house based on the price of that property. And just on a moral level, what's it got to do with a government when someone buys or sells a property? It's nothing to do with them whatsoever. They literally just bank the cash. I think it will reignite the housing market. There was a study done in Australia that showed that stamp duty was one of the most regressive taxes. The economy loses 75p, I think, for every pound that's raised. So it's a really, really good move, and I think it will actually free up housing because a lot of older people will actually then downsize, which will free up housing down the ladder for people who want to get onto the housing ladder.
Scarlett, it's a sort of intervention that could be welcomed by many in the Labour Party as well. Perhaps even Angela Rayner might be quite happy.
Let's have a little go at her. So I heard the speech yesterday and watched it, and actually I was impressed. I mean, I've always thought that Kemi is underrated as a media performer. I think she's really good. She clearly rehearsed it. Everything had gone into it. I was just surprised at how amazed people are about stamp duty, because you think, well, people just put the house prices up. I mean, when you're thinking, I'm going to buy a new house, you think, how much money have I got? So therefore, you know, what will go on this and what will go on that? And it just means that you'll put the house, you know, so I'll get more money when I sell my house because I will charge more. So I didn't understand why it was so amazing.
Because
genuinely.
Because at the moment, if you are buying buying a property, if you have a 10% deposit on a £500,000 property, you know, that is great. That goes off the price of your mortgage. Whereas when you have a stamp duty to pay, say you've got £20,000 stamp duty to pay, that's an extra huge amount of money. That's an extra 40% of your deposit you've got to come up with in hard cash just to give to the government. It doesn't come off the price of the property, and at least if the property price is a little bit higher, then you can at least take it off your mortgage or take a mortgage to cover that. You can't take a mortgage to cover stamp duty. It is literally dead money that goes into the government's pocket for doing nothing. You get nothing in return for it.
OK, so I understand the theory. I just wonder about the practice. That's all. It's just, I wonder whether it will really make a difference, or whether it always... I mean, every time they rearrange something, you know, that the house prices go up or they go down. But they... I mean, when you're sorting out your house... When you're sorting out buying a house, you say, OK, I've got this, this and this, and then I've got to pay this in stamp duty. And so maybe you try and pull the price down a bit so that the stamp duty's... But I just don't know
any seller that does that, though. I don't know any seller that sells a property and says, oh, I'm going to make sure that the price is reasonable enough for some poor person who's paying stamp duty.
No, a buyer. I'm talking about the buyer.
Well, then the buyer then has to come up with cash money that doesn't go into the price of the house.
Well, we'll just see. I mean, I just don't see that it will make that much difference, but obviously some people feel that it will.
Kemi Badenoch made a point about the wider economy, which I thought was interesting, and that it triggers this chain reaction of spending, because then you've got, if you buy a house, you're then looking at movers, builders, decorators, your furniture, your trips. You talked about trips to John Lewis and IKEA.
I know, but the housing market is fine at the moment. I mean,
it really is not.
It's not fine at the moment.
It is. People are selling and buying all the time.
No,
I mean,
some people are, but not nearly enough are, right, Sky? I mean, we have a crisis of home ownership in this country.
We're about 4 million homes short at the moment today.
I know, but this isn't because of stamp duty. It's because we don't have enough houses. Hold on, you can't. But it's about. It's not going to lower the price of houses, and it's not going to build houses. No, well, I say that is, and the crisis we have in the housing market is available. It's supply, right? Which is not going to do anything, which is what we have been needing.
We've got millions, probably, of empty bedrooms of people who have houses that are of a certain age that won't downsize because of the stamp duty implications of that. When the top end of the market, when people sell in that end of the market, it frees up housing further down the chain. You're right, it's not going to increase the supply, but it is going to create a situation where people move who might not have moved before.
OK, let's move on to what's going on in the Middle East this morning. There's first phase of a Gaza peace deal being signed. Scarlett, it's celebrations in Gaza and also in Tel Aviv this morning.
Well, I mean, I can understand that in both Tel Aviv and Gaza, they are absolutely desperate for peace. I mean, you know, the Israelis want the hostages out, and many Israelis actually want an end to the war. I mean, they see. Unlike Netanyahu, they see an end to the war as the only way to get the hostages out. But there are also quite a few Israelis who actually just want an end to the war. In Gaza, I mean, you know, what, 50 people a day are just being killed? I mean, it's just awful. I mean, what's so terrible is that we haven't got the peace, we haven't got a ceasefire at the moment. I mean, that's what, it seems to me that, you know, we talk about all of this, and in the meantime, you know, you watch the Israeli Defence Force bomb another house.
Well, you'd say take it up with Hamas, wouldn't you, Krista? Because they're the people who are refusing to lay down arms, having launched that attack 2 years ago. But also, I mean, bringing this news to home, this is quite welcome in Britain as well, because we've seen the sort of impact this conflict has had in the UK in terms of protest, in terms of disorder and disunity. It's exposed something very dark at the heart of our politics.
I absolutely agree, and I just think that it would be... I mean, who wouldn't want this? Who wouldn't want... And I just think that it does show up, I'm afraid, a little Keir Starmer, because whilst I thought it was a worthy goal to recognise a Palestinian state eventually, there wasn't that caveat about the hostages in there, especially in his speech that he gave about it. So if they are released, I think it would be amazing, and I think the Qataris and Trump would deserve a great deal of praise.
Do you think it will hold, Scarlett?
I'm with Robert Fox. I'm incredibly wary. I mean, we have been here before. We've been nearly there. There was an American peace deal that was quite similar to this. I mean, it didn't go as far as Tony Blair running Gaza, but the beginnings was, and Netanyahu said, no. No, I mean, that's why Israel is so split on this, is that of course, it's Hamas who has the hostages, it's Hamas who's keeping them. But actually, what we know is most of the hostages that have been released, I think all bar 3, have been released during peace deals, not because the IDF got them out. And so one worries what Netanyahu will do, because he has got difficult people in his cabinet.
Right, Scarlett, Christo, thank you very much. We'll see you both in the next hour. Let's get a check-in on the weather.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any fog patches soon clearing away this morning, leaving a mostly bright day for many, though some drizzly outbreaks expected at times in the west. So Northern Ireland, southwestern parts of Scotland, also northwest England, will see a constant feed of drizzle out from the west, so it could be quite damp at times here, particularly across any hilly areas. Elsewhere, we'll see a mix of cloud, also some bright, if not sunny spells at times, and where we see those, it will feel warm and pleasant in the sunshine. Highs reaching around 17 to 18, possibly 19 degrees Celsius across parts of the southeast. Even eastern Scotland should see a warm afternoon. Now we'll start to see a change across Scotland through the course of the afternoon. It could turn quite breezy, particularly around coastal areas in the west. And once again, we'll see this constant feed of cloud, some drizzle, particularly across western hilly areas. There's slightly drier and brighter end to the day across the far east of Scotland. Northern Ireland, similar, fairly cloudy with some drizzle at times. Northwest England could see fairly similar conditions. Even across Wales, we could also see some drizzle across the hills. But for most areas, it should be another dry night. But once again, we'll see plenty of cloud start to feed its way in from the west. The best of the clearer skies are probably going to be across eastern England, but where we see any prolonged clear spells, that means we could be in for a chance of mist and fog during the very early hours of Friday. With plenty of cloud around, that does mean it should be a mostly mild night. Many towns and cities dropping around 9 to 10 degrees Celsius. So for the end of the week, it could be quite a grey, gloomy start, particularly across western Scotland, where we'll continue to see drizzly outbreaks. But through the course of the morning, that cloud should lift and break, any mist and fog clearing away, and that should allow some sunshine to develop, particularly across eastern Scotland, northeastern parts of England, though parts of southern England and Wales could hold on to that cloud through much of the afternoon. But still, once again, where we see the bright and sunny spells, it should be another warm day, highs of around 18 degrees Celsius.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. The M48 is experiencing weight restrictions for vehicles over 7.5 tonnes from the 27th of May onwards, impacting both directions and expected to remain in place until further notice. In West Berkshire, the eastbound M4 between junctions 13 and 12 has a broken down vehicle, with one of 3 lanes blocked. However, this is unlikely to cause significant delays as normal traffic conditions are expected shortly, and on the trains cross-country services are disrupted between Brockenhurst and Redbridge. Additionally, northern buses are replacing trains between Corkickle and Whitehaven. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. Hamas signed the first phase of the Gaza peace deal.
Now, President Trump hails the breakthrough as historic and an unprecedented event.
Yeah, I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly.
The US president says hostages could be released as early as this weekend.
Just take care of yourselves. The hostages will come back. They're all coming back on Monday.
So will this deal finally get over the line and bring peace to the Middle East?
Legal experts question the reasoning behind the Crown Prosecution Service dropping the China spies case.
The next Conservative government will abolish stamp duty on your home.
Well, Kemi Badenoch promises to abolish stamp duty for primary homes in a surprise announcement at the Conservative Party conference.
Sir Keir Starmer has said the UK will not relax visa rules for India as he visits the country for trade talks.
And Netflix released the much-anticipated Victoria Beckham documentary. Promises to be brilliantly candid. We'll take you through all the details later this morning.
I can hardly wait. Manchester United co-owner Jim Ratcliffe says that manager Ruben Amorim will get 3 years to prove himself. He's had 11 months so far. As they take on Wales tonight, Thomas Tuchel says that England are underdogs at the World Cup, which is not surprising since we haven't won it for 60 years. And Scotland play Greece tonight in a World Cup qualifier and need to do better than the last time they played.
Hello there, good morning. We'll see any fog patches clearing away through the course of the morning, leaving a brighter day, though there's also some drizzle in the forecast. Stay tuned and I'll have all the details.
Good morning, it's just gone 7 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Charlie Peters, and this is GB News Breakfast.
Now, have you heard of a baby moon?
Nope.
I have heard of a baby moon.
Is it after the baby or is it before the baby?
I think it's post.
Oh, post. And then there's a...
I'm the only one with a baby here, and I have not heard of the baby.
Oh, you missed a trick there.
What does that mean, then?
A baby moon. You could have gone on 2 holidays.
Oh, as in a honeymoon?
Yeah, but before the baby.
Oh, I'm thinking of moon, as in a baby moon.
No, a baby moon.
A baby moon?
Like a honeymoon.
Oh, no.
But a baby moon. And then there's a workcation, so you
So
go
hold on, the baby moon is after the baby's born?
See, I think it's before, but Charlie...
It's got to be before.
As a non-parent, I'm not certain on this.
Also a non-parent, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have looked
Well,
into
that
this.
would be ridiculous to have a baby then go away. That would be stupid.
So I think it's before.
Yes.
Then there's a workcation where you go on holiday to work. These are people who who work.
I do.
Who can work remotely. Anyway,
partial to a jet on occasion.
I am.
There's a new type of holiday, you two, that you should be aware of.
Me and Charlie are going together, by the way.
Yeah.
We're going to work this out.
Called shelf discovery. I don't think it's got quite the same ring to it, but apparently it's when you go on holiday to see...
You know we're on You're right there, Theo.
Hi, Theo.
I thought it was heard up at the Tijuana Brass.
This is on air.
You can be part of the conversation.
Yeah, it's fine. You can
Sorry, I'm really sorry. I thought we were...
No, you're welcome.
Tell you what, that's a proper nose blow, though, Theo.
Apologies, I'm very sorry.
You're welcome any time, Theo. Welcome any time. Come join the conversation. We're talking about holidays.
Yeah, sorry.
Did you ever go on a baby moon or a honeymoon?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, great.
Yes.
See,
Oh, so you know what that means?
Yes, absolutely.
Is it before or after the baby's born?
It's got to be before,
It was
right?
before.
There you go.
And we went to... Yeah, it was beautiful.
Well, we're glad you're here to offer some clarity to us. But I'm telling you about a new style of holiday. This is a new trend, apparently, called shelf discovery. It's when people go on holiday to discover authentic supermarkets.
No.
I actually think it's one of the most exciting parts of a holiday.
Finding a new supermarket experience.
When you go to a new supermarket in a new country and you just look at all the delicacies
I dread
and all the
landing
special offers.
I hate that sort of first day arrival shop. Spending €100 on stuff you don't need.
It's chaos.
And you think it's going to be cheap here, and then you end up, hold on, why did I do this self-catering thing?
Thank God for British supermarkets, highly competitive, doing their best for the British consumer.
Very good.
I feel like you get really overexcited in foreign supermarkets as well, don't you? Just throw everything into the trolley.
Yeah, I'll
End
have
up
one of
spending
those.
far
And then
more.
you get the bill through, and you're like, how much is this?
Scary.
Yeah.
Anyway, shelf discovery. Let us know if you do that when you're on holiday. gbnews.com.
Is that the holiday for you then, Ellie?
I think so.
You think you like
I already do it, actually. I didn't know it's a trend. Love a foreign supermarket. Very exciting.
Quite a remarkable change of tone from shelf discovery. Israel and Hamas. They've signed the first phase of the Gaza peace deal in what President Trump is hailing a historic and unprecedented event. Now, this is the moment that President Trump was interrupted during a roundtable event by Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Yes, he was handed a note about the deal being very close, and it led to this announcement.
Yeah, I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly.
Well, the deal will see Israel withdraw their troops from an agreed-upon zone.
Well, in reaction, Israel's Prime Minister said he would not rest until all the hostages were home, while Hamas has urged Trump to make the deal happen without delay.
Well, as Israelis and Palestinians celebrated the news, the US president told hostage families that their loved ones would be home by Monday.
Just take care of yourselves. The hostages will come back. They're all coming back on Monday.
Right, well, let's speak to political commentator Theo Ellwood, who joins us in the studio. Theo, this is a really significant development, but we heard concern from Robert Fox earlier that he was waiting for a bit of detail, but concerned that this might not hold.
I think the first thing to say is extraordinary what Donald Trump has achieved, and I don't think it should be underestimated at all. I mean, if you think where we were and now where we find ourselves, the possibility of finally the hostages being returned, the bodies being returned, because it's worth remembering, of course, that Hamas has executed, murdered 28 along with tens of others, hundreds of others, those 28 to their families, and then they're believed to be 20 that are still alive. And it's also, I think, worth recognising the concession that Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, has had to make in terms of the release of, prisoners held. These are people who have been convicted of terrorism offences. Right. Back to Gaza, and that many of those who we understand, some of those who are going to be released are actually. Were implicated in what happened in that atrocity on October the 7th, just over 2 years ago. So for Donald Trump to bring both parties together, and if you think the pressure he's been able to apply on Hamas in particular to get to this first phase, I don't think that should be underestimated. And I think it's easy for others to sit on the sidelines and sneer and say, well, is it going to hold, or is it all going to fall apart, and is this just, it's just a very small step? This is hugely significant, and I think Donald Trump should should receive the plaudits for getting it done and getting us to this point, because only 6 months ago it looked like an impossibility.
I mean, we're hearing that the ceasefire is to start when the deal is signed. I think it's about 12 o'clock our time. Can we talk about the hostages? Because that's really important that we focus on them. 48 in total, as you say, dead and alive. It's believed that 20 are alive. Just thinking about the condition that they will be in, I mean, physically and mentally, after 2 years in Hamas captivity.
Yeah, if you look back to when there've been previous moments of ceasefire, and Hamas have released the hostages at those particular moments, and the fact that they've been so mistreated, so they've been emaciated, returned to their families, and the trauma that they've been through, you cannot underscore the horrors of what happened. Underestimate the horrors of what happened 2 years ago, and the knock-on impact that this has had, not just on their families and their communities, particularly in the south of Israel, but not exclusively, but more broadly on the country. And the feeling within the country of Israel, it has had a profound and deep, lasting impact. But now, at least, with the release of these hostages, we hope they're going to take place. I understand that it will take place on Sunday, and hopefully all of the bodies should be returned. All the hostages that are still alive should be with their families by Monday. We can now see the Middle East move to the next phase of the peace process and a lasting ceasefire. But it's for all the grand. I think it's worth just contrasting what Donald Trump has achieved versus the grandstanding we've seen from the likes of our Prime Minister, where they've and Canada and France, where they've turned around and said, well, if you have a ceasefire, then it's very different.
Okay. Theo Ashwood, thank you very much for your time this morning. Let's just go now to go catch up on the weather with Hannah Criswick.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any fog patches soon clearing away this morning, leaving a mostly bright day for many, though some drizzly outbreaks expected at times in the west. So Northern Ireland, southwestern parts of Scotland, also northwest England, we'll see a constant feed of drizzle out from the west, so it could be quite damp at times here, particularly across any hilly areas. Elsewhere, we'll see a mix of cloud, also some bright, if not sunny spells at times, and where we see those, it will feel warm and pleasant in the sunshine. Highs reaching around 17 to 18, possibly 19 degrees Celsius across parts of the southeast. Even eastern Scotland should see a warm afternoon. Now we'll start to see a change across Scotland through the course of the afternoon. It could turn quite breezy, particularly around coastal areas in the west. And once again, we'll see this constant feed of cloud, some drizzle, particularly across western hilly areas. There's slightly drier and brighter end to the day across the far east of Scotland. Northern Ireland, similar, fairly cloudy with some drizzle at times. Northwest England could see fairly similar conditions. Even across Wales, we could also see some drizzle across the hills. But for most areas, it should be another dry night. But once again, we'll see plenty of cloud start to feed its way in from the west. The best of the clearer skies are probably going to be across eastern England, but where we see any prolonged clear spells, that means we could be in for a chance of mist and fog during the very early hours of Friday. With plenty of cloud around, that does mean it should be a mostly mild night. Many towns and cities dropping around 9 to 10 degrees Celsius. So for the end of the week, it could be quite a grey, gloomy start, particularly across western Scotland, where we'll continue to see drizzly outbreaks. But through the course of the morning, that cloud should lift and break, any mist and fog clearing away, and that should allow some sunshine to develop, particularly across eastern Scotland, northeastern parts of England, though parts of southern England and Wales could hold on to that cloud through much of the afternoon. But still, once again, where we see the bright and sunny spells, it should be another warm day, highs of around 18 degrees Celsius.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Now, there's still plenty of time to get your entry into our biggest Great British giveaway to date. It's your chance to win 30 grand in tax-free cash and a brand new 4-berth motorhome. Here are all of the details that you need.
You're not going to want to miss our greatest Great British giveaway so far. You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. And remember, if you can dream it, you can drive it away. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, still to come, the Prime Minister will be making a speech in just a moment from his visit to India. That's next here on GB News Breakfast with Ellie and Charlie.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact that Trump made a good start, no.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Well, let's talk about the Prime Minister's trip to India, shall we? His trade mission to India, where today he'll be meeting with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Catherine Forster's in India for us with this report.
So here in Mumbai, the Prime Minister has welcomed the news that a peace deal has been reached in the Middle East. And he has said, I welcome the news that a deal has been reached on the first stage of President Trump's peace plan for Gaza. This is a moment of profound relief that will be felt all around the world, but particularly for the hostages, their families, and for the civilian population of Gaza, who have all endured unimaginable suffering over the last 2 years. Goes on to say that he's grateful for the tireless diplomatic efforts of Egypt, Qatar, Turkey and the United States, supported by regional partners, in securing this crucial first step. The agreement must now be implemented in full without delay. And goes on to say that the UK will support what he calls these crucial immediate steps and the next steps of talks to ensure the full implementation of the peace plan. We do expect, don't we, the remaining 20 hostages to be released on Monday. There's around 28 who have passed away. Their bodies we expect will be recovered in the coming weeks, but huge development today. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister here in Mumbai in India, he's already met this morning the Indian Prime Minister Modi in a very grand setting. The governor of this region, the residence set on a peninsula with very green grass and palm trees. He will then be heading off to a fintech summit. He's had quite an incredible welcome here. There are, I'm told, 5,700 posters and banners with his photograph on them and that of Prime Minister Modi welcoming him here. India sees it as a big deal. It is a population of 1.4 billion people and a very fast-growing economy. He's here also with 125 top business leaders, and I will bring you more on that throughout the day.
Right, well, welcome back. We've got Theo Usherwood with us, political commentator. This is a significant moment, isn't it? Because we're expecting to have the Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, speaking with the Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, in just a few moments. But this visit, it's being touted by the British side as one of the most significant trade delegations in modern political history.
Yes, Keir Starmer's gone over there with a variety of vice-chancellors, business leaders, entrepreneurs, to try and build on that trade deal that he secured with Narendra Modi earlier this year. We're talking about, just in terms of the film industry alone, the Prime Minister talking about £1 billion investment into the UK economy from Bollywood, creating 3,000 jobs, 7,000 jobs more widely right across the UK economy as a result of this trade deal. But it doesn't come, Charlie, without some significant concerns. We've already seen, and this was, argued at the time whether this was right or not, that Indian companies employing Indians in this country should be given a tax break on paying national insurance at the same time as Rachel Reeves put up national insurance contributions for employers here in the UK. Number 10 insisted that this was a deal that was offered to right across the board, not just for India. You then, of course, got Narendra Modi and India's support for Vladimir Putin and his war effort in Ukraine. This is somebody who wished Narendra Modi, you were saying, Ellie,
a happy birthday this week.
Putin a happy birthday. And India continues to buy Russian fossil fuels, which allows Putin to perpetrate his war in Ukraine.
How problematic do you think that is, Theo? Do you think India can be a friend to everybody on the world stage? I mean, I was listening to an Indian trade body yesterday who was saying, look, we're just proud of our sovereignty, we won't be told what to do, we can be friends with everybody. But do you think, in that sense, they can be a true friend of Britain?
I think it's difficult for to face both ways on this particular issue. I think India has there's deep historical ties between our two countries, and obviously familial connections as well. And Keir Starmer was adamant that as part of this delegation that he's leading over to India, that there was going to be no negotiation on increasing visa routes at a time when legal migration, I should say, remains stubbornly high. But yeah, I think it's difficult. And we've seen, we were talking in the last hour, weren't we, about the Chinese and the conflicts there. With India, it's not the same situation, but I think there are parallels to be drawn between the fact that the Indian government is continuing to support Putin, and by dint of that, elongate the war in Ukraine and our efforts that are costing British taxpayer money to pay for, to support Volodymyr Zelensky's, military effort. I think it is not something that can just simply be overlooked. We can't just simply expect the government to go to India and say, oh, let's do a trade deal and let's all be best friends. Sure. At the same time that the economic ties, when we have sanctions on Russia, obviously, but India is maintaining close economic ties with Vladimir Putin.
It's not just their relationships with others. I mean, we do know that the Indian government has snubbed Commonwealth meetings in favour of attending summits in Moscow, for example. But actually, what is... And I've been surprised by the lack of this commentary in the media more broadly since Starmer arrived in India, which is like, what does the Indian government think about Britain? Less what it thinks about Moscow or the conflicts in Ukraine. I mean, a lot of the BJP, which is Modi's party, is outright hostile towards Britain. They've gone through a real period of Indian nationalism in sort of seeing Britain as a foundational enemy, putting the colonial past right front and centre of this issue. We've seen sort of British symbology and heritage in the country stripped away in recent years, and certainly people who discuss this online will find themselves sort of overwhelmed by a flurry of people comparing Winston Churchill to Hitler, for example, in India. So, and Modi himself was boycotted by the British government for 10 years until 2012 because of activities he'd taken, not quelling a riot. So perhaps they'll be trying to avoid that very delicately here as well, Theo.
Yeah, I think you're right, Charlie. I think you're right to draw on this. I think they will be trying to avoid the difficult, the historic, those particular aspects of the relationship. India, of course, yes, the Commonwealth, as you say, he's tended to favour, hasn't he, Modi? That meeting with Putin, where he and with Chinese Premier as well, over taking part in the Commonwealth heads of government meeting directly. But I think also there's there'll be concerns about climate change, and India is one of those nations like China, which is not, and Brazil, which is not adhering to global targets when it comes to climate change, and we are, and it's costing us money.
Yeah, good point. Theo Ashwood, thank you very much. We'll see you in the next hour. We are hoping to bring you that live press conference, the Prime Minister speaking with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in India in just a moment. And we're also going to be going through the papers with Christo Fufas and Scarlett Maguire. So do stay with us. That's next.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. There is a weight restriction for heavy goods vehicles over 7.5 tonnes on the M48 in both directions, in effect from May 27th, 2025 until further notice. In West Berkshire, on the M4 eastbound between junctions 13 and 12, a broken down vehicle has led to the closure of one lane out of 3. Normal traffic conditions are anticipated by 8 this morning. And on the trains, cross-country services face disruption between Brockenhurst and Southampton Central, while Northern will have buses replacing trains between Corkickle and Whitehaven. Stay informed by visiting gbnews.com for more travel news.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
And
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk then? No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK, we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News, the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Well, we're joined now by Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party, Matt Vickers. Very good morning to you, Mr. Vickers.
Good morning.
Morning. Can I get your reaction first to President Trump securing the first phase of the Gaza peace deal? What's your reaction to that this morning?
Fantastic news. We all want to see an end to that humanitarian crisis. We want to see those hostages brought home. Obviously, we're watching carefully what comes from this, but it sounds like very, very, very good news.
Because we have a protest set for this Saturday in London, even after this peace deal has been signed. If that still goes ahead, what's your message to those people protesting after the peace deal has been signed?
I think it's it'd be very sad actually to see that happen. I think that if we've got to this point, obviously we've got to see what unfolds and what comes forwards, but it does sound like very, very positive news. I think it's something everybody should be able to get behind. Everybody should want to see those hostages returned. Everybody should want to see an end to that crisis in Gaza. Everybody should want to see that aid going in and seeing that suffering brought to an end. So hopefully this is the start of very, very positive news and very positive developments for the Middle East.
Can I ask you about Kemi Badenoch's pledge yesterday to scrap stamp duty? The Mirror today saying that this is actually only going to help the wealthy, that young people, many young people are already exempt from stamp duty. This is only going to help the wealthy in this country. What do you say to that?
Well, firstly, we should never bother reading the Mirror. It's a terrible lefty publication. But the reality is that's just not true. 85% of transactions that are subject to stamp duty actually under £500,000, and the IFS itself has said that this might look, you can try and contrive such a position and suggest it's just for the wealthy, but in reality this affects the housing supply. It affects older people who are looking to downsize the houses. It affects families who are getting a bit bigger. They've had a couple of kids, they want to buy a bigger house. That restricts the flow of housing. It affects the house build, and it also stops people moving for work. That impact on mobility has huge impacts on our economy, huge consequences. This is the right way to go. It's a bold move, and it'll make a huge difference to our economy and to the lives of people around the country.
Because it is a bold move, and you're seeing, perhaps for the first time in a long time, a lot of positive press now about the Conservative Party's policy platform. Are you a bit frustrated that it's taken so long to get these sorts of bold visions out of the New Look Conservatives?
Well, I think there was two big things that happened this weekend. One was around the fact that we came back with a real plan. So leaving the ECHR, lots of politicians tweet about it, lots of politicians do press releases on it, but we've got an eminent KC to come together, proper legal advice, a real detailed plan, hundreds of pages of detail about how we do that, what the consequences are, and how we take it forwards. And then the other thing that contrasts us with all the political parties actually is that we are the people who do fiscal responsibility. Every family around the country knows you should only spend what you've got, and if you spend more than you've got, there's a real real negative outcome to that. That's what Kemi's committed to. We're the guys who are going to fix this economy. We've seen what's happening as a result of Rachel Reeves' last budget. The number of businesses in this country are closing at the fastest rate since the world economic crash. There's 14% more people unemployed. That is disastrous. We need the people in charge who are going to take fiscal responsibility, who are going to support businesses as they create jobs and create the economic growth that this country needs.
There are analysts, though, this morning saying that all this would do is heat up the property market or just make houses more expensive.
Well, you know what? We actually need to see houses being bought. We need to see people able to move when they want to go and get great jobs somewhere. We need to see families being able to actually afford to buy houses. People have that quality of life of getting the house that they need. This is just, it's a mad tax grab, actually, stamp duty. It's ridiculously unfair. If you save up, if you buy a slightly bigger house so that your kids can have their own bedroom, etc., you pay for that in council tax. But at the same time as that, the state comes in and takes a whopping chunk of thousands and thousands of pounds off you, making it ever harder. This is the right thing to do for our economy, and it's the right thing to do for families across the country.
Mr Vickers, you spoke about the two big announcements you'd made over the weekend, stamp duty, of course, but also this proposal to leave the ECHR, saying that anyone who wants to stand as a Conservative at the next election will need to back this proposal. You've seen plenty of councillors leaving to reform this week. Are you expecting some now to trickle in the other direction, perhaps towards the Liberal Democrats?
Well, I think I don't think that is the case. I think, do you know what? The reality is our borders crisis in this country, which has been bad for a long time, actually. You know, Kemi said the last government got things wrong on this front nearly, and immigration was too high. We need to do something about it. Since Starmer's crowd came to office, the number of people arriving in this country illegally has gone up, not just a little bit, up nearly 40%. We were reducing the number of people in hotels. That's now gone up again. This has a huge financial cost to the taxpayer. It places pressure on public services, on housing. It can't go on like that. We need to do something about it. This is what we need to do. We need to leave the ECHR. People who break into this country need to know that they will not be able to stay.
Mr Vickers, we are waiting to hear from the Prime Minister, who is on a trade mission to India. He's going to be speaking shortly with the Indian Prime Minister, Narendra Modi. Just wondering this morning, is India a friend of Britain? We've seen Narendra Modi post a happy birthday message to President Putin this week and wish him success. What do you think? Is Narendra Modi a friend of Britain?
You know what, I think actually we're looking at this trade deal. We welcome trade with partners from across the globe, but actually this trade deal and its impact on our economy will be somewhat limited and inconsequential when you look at what this government is doing to our economy, the impact on jobs, the impact on trade, the impact on growth, inflation up, tax up. Everything's going the wrong way except the national debt, which is growing. It's disastrous. This trade deal might go somewhere to benefiting us, but it's inconsequential when you look at the damage that's being done to our economy.
Well, Keir Starmer's also, in a different case, been speaking about this China spy case collapse, saying that the reason why the Crown Prosecution Service has been able to continue that case is because the previous government, your government, defined China as an epoch-defining challenge, that you didn't consider them a threat. Is that an accurate representation of the Conservative government's previous position?
That is entirely untrue. There are many, many incidents on the record where you see ministers from the previous government criticising China and talking about its threat and the risk that it poses. It's appalling what the government have done in this instance. We've had two people who are opposing our national interest, spying on elected representatives, and the government getting in the way of prosecutions that should be going ahead. It's not acceptable.
OK, Matt Vickers, thank you very much for your time on the programme this morning.
Well, still to come, we'll bring you the very latest on that Gaza peace deal. But in terms of what you could be doing, you could be getting away now for a quick break. Let's get a forecast on your European destinations.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Some unsettled weather across eastern areas of Spain. Storm Alice is set to bring heavy showers and also some thunderstorms. Mostly dry and settled across Madeira and also Tenerife, but all eyes on eastern areas of Spain. Some intense thunderstorms here likely to bring some localised flooding. A few showers across parts of Sardinia on Friday, but elsewhere, once again, mostly dry and settled. Plenty of sunshine, and this theme will continue over into the weekend with warm temperatures too, widely in the mid to high 20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Already you can just see it buzzing. The New Zealand-France game is going on, the bronze final in the stadium at the moment, and there's about 45,000 people already in the stadium watching it. So the energy in this place is unbelievable, and the excitement, because this game is a real game of jeopardy, the final between England and Canada.
And you've got caps galore, you've been involved in coaching men and women's rugby. So, and, you won in 1994. What's it like to be a winner?
Well, this is the shirt that I wore back in the day in 1994. This is my World Cup winning shirt, so I'm hoping it's going to bring a bit of luck to the girls. But it was an incredibly special time. But for me to see how the game has changed, we had 6,000 people watch us win that World Cup, and now women's sport in this country, it's our Lionesses, the Red Roses, the Cricket World Cup is the tickets are on sale for that next year, and people are choosing to watch women's sport and really, really enjoying the event. So it's fantastic, and the change over that 30-year span is quite remarkable.
What do you think has made the difference? Why is it becoming, as you say, football is the same. Why is it becoming more acceptable now? And not just for women and girls to follow the sport as well, but I go to West Ham regularly for my sins, but so many men are now starting to pay a little bit of attention without being too sneery.
Well, absolutely, but I think the biggest thing is the quality of the product. Because the girls have been given contracts and are now able to train, not have to go to work and then leave a full day's work and come training and then do almost a second job in order to deliver on the skills. Both the Lionesses, the Roses, everybody now at the top end of the game is being financially rewarded for it, so they can actually concentrate on their sport.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Right, it's 20 to 8, watching GB News Breakfast, and we're joined now by the journalist Christo Fufas and the former Labour advisor Scarlett Maguire. We're going through the papers, and let's start with you, Christo, because digital ID being used to access tax records. Telegraph front page. What's going on here?
Let's file this with sort of Kennedy being dead, because we're all so surprised, aren't we? Digital ID cards are set to be used to access tax records. Gosh, and we thought it was going to solve the migrant crisis, didn't we? What a surprise this is. Keir Starmer's plans to embed the technology into everyday life. It could be used to claim benefits, book childcare, apply for school places, but of course, going into your tax records as well. This is obviously the plan all along in order to have digital ID, because they want to get their sticky little fingers on more of our tax money, because that is what this government is all about, and that is the problem that they are trying to solve. It is not going to solve the problem of people coming here and working illegally, because if you are someone who is going to employ someone illegally, well, you're probably not going to ask them for their digital ID in the same way you're not going to ask them for their national insurance card, which is what's happening now. It's all about tax.
Scarlett?
I mean, the thing I agree with Christo is, of course, I mean, the minute you have digital ID, you have everything. But I mean, at the moment, I have digital ID for my NHS stuff. I have digital ID. I mean, I carry my phone around, which is just full of digital ID on me. To just have one card, I don't see what the difference. And anyway, the government can get hold of your tax stuff.
You're supportive of this, is
well, I've never understood the fuss. Actually, I mean, most of us go around carrying digital ID on us. I mean, I do agree.
Then why do we need a new one?
Yeah.
But because it's one thing in one place. I mean, it's just like having the NHS all in one. You know, when all my hospital records are with University College Hospital. When I have, you know, an operation last week, right, it just gets put on there that I have to do this. But because I have lots of different health problems, I just have to go through, and it's one portal. I do not understand the fuss.
Have you been a bit concerned by the rapid drop in public support for this policy since it was announced by the Labour government? It's quite strange, isn't it? When you polling on it, there was something like there was a plurality of support, then suddenly people are told it's coming.
I'm afraid, Charlie, that I am going to say exactly what you want me to, which is, in this case, Keir might have the reverse Midas point. I mean, it is. I think but it's also one of these things that you really need to think through properly, and then you think, but we've all got it anyway.
I just don't think we need it. I just don't think that we need it. And also, why not expand the national insurance card? That infrastructure is already there. It's another layer of admin and expense that is just not needed. If you're going to integrate all the other ones a little bit better, I understand that. But this is, and it's not going to solve the problem they're claiming it's going to solve.
I think the issue as well with public trust is when the reason for rolling it out keeps on changing.
Yeah.
I think that's it does make people...
And we had a form of digital medical ID, didn't we, during COVID, and we ended up having to show it to go into the pub. I mean, that's ridiculous. And so how do we know that this isn't going to end up in the same way?
Okay.
So that's why I am cynical.
Scarlett, let's have a very quick look, shall we? Celebrity traitors. Some big names, haven't they?
I watched it last night with my children, and they'd never seen it before, and they were amazed. And can I say, the absolute star of the show was Alan Carr. And what you don't know about Alan Carr is whether it's real or not, because he is so funny, completely effortless. He just stole the whole show. And I would say anybody should watch it. It's completely and utterly addictive. You've got Stephen Fry being knowingly pompous. You've got a lot of people that certainly I had never heard of, but actually it's a great programme, and they are doing it real. And yes, I am looking forward to watching the next one.
Yeah,
I love The Traitors. The Traitors is amazing. And you know, I know Alan a bit, and he is real. He's exactly the same in real life. He's exactly the same. Sorry, I picked that name off the floor, but he is. He's exactly the same in real life. The way he is on television is exactly how he is. Some people are not the same. He is.
Will you be watching this series?
Yeah, I will. I just didn't catch it last night, but absolutely, I love The Traitors. It's one of the best reality shows in years.
Why does it work so well? It is so good, isn't it?
Because I think people love duplicity, but I also think people were ready for a reality show that makes you think a little bit, rather than, you know, just shoving people together either in a house or a villa and watching them try to outperform each other. This is actually about reining it in a bit. This is about trying to actually be strategic, and I think the public, sick of a diet of naff reality, were ready for something that made them think a bit.
Yeah, and also, when it wasn't celebrity, you sort of had real people. I mean, they weren't all beautiful, they didn't all have trout pouts and all of that, and that's what was so great. And actually, these celebs are pretty, when it comes to looks, it's pretty ordinary, and they're made to do, I mean, terrible things, and I presume it's just going to get worse and worse, and they're going to be humiliated, which we will all love.
Yes,
absolutely.
Speaking of celebrities and...
Be careful what you say now, because I know what you're about to say.
Yeah, I'm pausing there.
As a segue.
Speaking of celebrities, full stop, Victoria Beckham is back in the press today. Her sense of humour is being described as a gift, Christo, filming this new Netflix documentary series.
I mean, it's had mixed reviews. Some people are saying it's a bit dull. Some people are pointing out her sense of humour and how that shines through. I have to say, though, one of the things that I think is quite heartbreaking that's been revealed from it as well is that she's actually admitted to having an eating disorder when she was really, really skinny. Yet another Spice Girl that has admitted to this.
And she's denied this for years, hasn't she?
Has.
I mean, she's always said she's very disciplined.
Well, and actually, she even lied to her mother.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quite incredible that I think the more people that come out and say, I've had an eating disorder, I mean, the more people will be able to come out and say, I've got one and I've got to do something about it.
I mean, I've had one. I had it for years, and I don't think it ever properly leaves you. But I think that you're right. The more that people talk about it, and the more that people discuss how you get over it, and like Victoria Beckham's like stemmed from being at a dance class, being told to stand at the back because she was a bit overweight, and then of course you know her body was analysed for years when she was in the Spice Girls.
You see, do you know, I'm actually, I'm actually quite bored of talking about reality TV. I was going to bring another story in, but we're not going to be able to. We have to move on, you two. I'm sorry. We're going to speak to...
Thank you very much, you two.
Israel's Deputy Foreign Minister, Sharon Haskell, who joins us now. Good morning, Sharon.
Hello, good morning.
Sharon, first of all, can we get your reaction to this news, this breaking news about the peace deal between Israel and Hamas and hostages set to be released this weekend?
Well, there's a great mixed feeling here in Israel. On the one hand, we are so thrilled and excited. Whenever Israel had a path through diplomacy to reach our goals of war and to bring back our hostages, we always choose a diplomatic path. And knowing, you know, in a few hours whether this agreement will be signed and at least the 20 live hostages will be back already this weekend is such a relief and such a joy for our entire nation. But it's also important to understand that on the other side, this is a very difficult time. We need to release hundreds of terrorists with blood on their hands. Some of them murdered innocent children and women and innocent men, and they will be released back into society with no restrictions. Some of them are Hamas operatives who committed the 7th of October atrocities, and you know, the families of those victims who paid a grave price are in a very difficult position. This is a heartbreak for them as well to know that the perpetrators, those monsters, will be released back into society.
And with that in mind, Sharon, with those perpetrators being released back into society, what hope do you have, if any, that this will hold?
Well, it really depends, because right now what Hamas has agreed to is at least the first stage of the deal. The first stage of the deal is the exchange of the hostages in return for those terrorists with blood on their hands. Whether we'll be able to reach the second one that will end the war and will dismantle Hamas hasn't been agreed yet. We are hopeful, but knowing that we're dealing with a terrorist organization, we try to keep our expectation low because we've been disappointed so many times before.
Sharon, I heard you giving a speech at the Conservative Party conference on Sunday at a Conservatives for Israel event. I have to say, I thought your speech sounded almost like a declaration of war on the British government. You said that we had out-of-control immigration, particularly from Islamist communities hostile to our values. And you said, essentially, that we had generated the demonisation of Jews through our immigration policies. Now, President Trump is going to get a lot of praise for his hand in this deal. What do you think Keir Starmer's role has been? Do you think that the British government, under this Labour government, has been a useful supporter of this peace deal, or has it, as a British shadow minister told us earlier, been grandstanding instead of helping peace?
So, and I have to say that with a heavy heart. Unfortunately, that this current government haven't been productive in helping to create stability and peace. During the last negotiations, such a sensitive time, they have declared with Macron that they will acknowledge and recognize the Palestinian state. Hamas has thanked them. If a terrorist organization like Hamas is going up and thanking you, you must understand you're on the wrong side of history. So this is one thing that actually pushed further any kind of a possibility for peace, for negotiation. It's been very, very difficult. And the other thing is that with this massive immigration coming from Muslim countries, from the Middle East, importing with them those tradition of demonizing Israel, demonizing Jews, not assimilating into the society, that has put in danger the Jewish community, but not just. What we've seen in the last 2 years with those hate marches and those celebration of Hamas in your street, people that are waving Hamas's flag. Hamas is a proscribed terrorist organization in the UK. How come there's no enforcement of the law in those marches in the UK? They have called out publicly to globalize the Intifada, meaning to attack civilians, not just Jew, but any British civilian. What we've seen in Manchester, that vile terrorist attack, that's what it means to globalize the Intifada. And if you don't take actions, real actions against it, it's obvious that the Jewish community will be so vulnerable, will be violently attacked. It is your job not to speak anymore. There has to be actions. And that was my call at the Conference of the Conservatives.
Sharon, we're hearing from President Trump overnight, promising those families of the hostages that are inside Gaza that they will be reunited on Monday. I wonder how you are thinking and feeling about that. Obviously, euphoria in Tel Aviv and in Hostage Square. We've been seeing pictures. We can see them on the screen right now, people hugging, taking photos, celebrating at this news. But of course, those 20 that we believe to be alive, they will be physically, mentally traumatized after 2 years of being held in captivity.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know that from the testimonies and from talks with current hostages that were released. This is a process that can take years or a lifetime. They haven't recovered. The entire country wasn't able yet to start a recovering process because we've been waiting for all of them to come back. So hopefully, once they are back, the entire nation will be able to start a recovering process. But unfortunately, for the hostages who have been through physical abuse, emotional torture, psychological torture, sexual abuse and rape.
OK, Deputy Foreign Minister Sharon Haskell, I'm sorry, we'll have to leave it there. We're coming to the end of the hour, but thank you very much for your time this morning. And we'll be crossing to Mumbai, the Prime Minister speaking with his Indian counterpart, Narendra Modi. We're getting more from that in a moment. Quite a significant moment there, Ellie, between those two world leaders.
Yeah, absolutely. He's been leading a delegation of more than 100 entrepreneurs, cultural leaders and even vice-chancellors. He says he's going to boost UK investment and improve a sluggish economic growth. We're going to have the latest on that next. Let's just have a quick look now at the weather.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any fog patches soon clearing away this morning, leaving a mostly bright day for many, though some drizzly outbreaks expected at times in the west. So Northern Ireland, southwestern parts of Scotland, also northwest England, we'll see a constant feed of drizzle out from the west, so it could be quite damp at times here, particularly across any hilly areas. Elsewhere, we'll see a mix of cloud, also some bright, if not sunny spells at times, and where we see those, it will feel warm and pleasant in the sunshine. Highs reaching around 17 to 18, possibly 19 degrees Celsius across parts of the southeast. Even eastern Scotland should see a warm afternoon. Now, we'll start to see a change across Scotland through the course of the afternoon. It could turn quite breezy, particularly around coastal areas in the west. And once again, we'll see this constant feed of cloud, some drizzle, particularly across western hilly areas. There's slightly drier and brighter end to the day across the far east of Scotland. Northern Ireland, similar, fairly cloudy with some drizzle at times. Northwest England could see fairly similar conditions. Even across Wales, we could also see some drizzle across the hills. But for most areas, it should be another dry night. But once again, we'll see plenty of cloud start to feed its way in from the west. The best of the clearer skies are probably going to be across eastern England, but where we see any prolonged clear spells, that means we could be in for a chance of mist and fog during the very early hours of Friday. With plenty of cloud around, that does mean it should be a mostly mild night. Many towns and cities dropping around 9 to 10 degrees Celsius. So for the end of the week, it could be quite a grey, gloomy start, particularly across western Scotland, where we'll continue to see drizzly outbreaks. But through the course of the morning, that cloud should lift and break, any mist and fog clearing away, and that should allow some sunshine to develop, particularly across eastern Scotland, northeastern parts of England, though parts of southern England and Wales could hold on to that cloud through much of the afternoon. But still, once again, where we see the bright and sunny spells, it should be another warm day, highs of around 18 degrees Celsius.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Road users are urged to exercise caution on the A9 Kessock Bridge due to strong winds.
Good morning, welcome back. We're going to cross live to Mumbai, where the Prime Minister is giving a joint statement with his Indian counterpart, Narendra Modi.
For both of our nations. The UK and India stand side by side as global leaders in tech and innovation, and so we've also taken the opportunity to deepen our cooperation through our technology security initiative, with new commitments on AI, advanced communication, defence technologies, and much, much more. We're announcing a deal to make Bollywood films in the United Kingdom after a fantastic visit to the studio yesterday, and we're deepening our cooperation in education, as we've evidenced here on the film and with the people that we have in the room. It is the younger generation in India who will lead the charge to deliver on that 2047 target. The demand for the best quality higher education is very high. So I'm really pleased that we're announcing today that more British universities will be setting up campuses right here in India, making Britain India's leading international provider of higher education and delivering on our vision 2035 that we set out in July. These incredible economic models are the jewel in the crown of this relationship. But of course, our cooperation goes much wider too. And so we've had the opportunity to discuss issues of vital importance to global stability and security, including the situation in the Middle East. I strongly welcome the news that a deal has been reached on the first stage of the peace plan in Gaza. This is a moment of profound relief that we felt around the world, but particularly for the hostages, their families, and for the civilian population of Gaza, who have all endured unimaginable suffering over the last 2 years. I'm grateful for the tireless diplomatic efforts of Egypt, Qatar, Turkey, the United States, and many others in securing this crucial first step. This agreement must now be implemented in full, without delay, and be accompanied by the immediate lifting of all restrictions on life-saving humanitarian aid to Gaza. The UK will support these crucial immediate steps and the next stages of the talks to ensure the full implementation of the peace plan. The mission of the peace plan. The Prime Minister and I also discussed the need for a just and lasting peace in Ukraine, the need for stability and security in the Indo-Pacific, and the need to cooperate in critical areas like climate and energy, including breaking away from dependence on fossil fuels. India is a global player. We sit together in the Commonwealth, the G20, and we want to see India taking its rightful place on the UN Security Council too. So we are committed to strengthening our strategic partnership. And in fact, as already been mentioned, our carrier strike group is here in India right now, exercising with the Indian Navy, showing the strength of that relationship on defence and security, which we've discussed this morning. We want to take even further. And look, the whole thing, this particular partnership, goes much deeper. Because in the end, it is about people. The human connections between India and the UK are unique, forming what Prime Minister Modi has called the living bridge between our two countries. A bridge between people, a bridge between hearts, and in that spirit, Prime Minister, I want to express my deepest sympathies to all the victims of the Air India crash earlier this year. A terrible day and a tragedy for both of our nations. And it showed, frankly, that we are family. And I am proud this week that we're taking this incredible partnership between our two nations and making it stronger than ever for working people on both sides of that bridge. Finally, I'd like to take this opportunity as we enter the festive period to wish the people of India joy and happiness and a very happy Diwali. Diwali ki shubh kam inai. Thank you.
That's the Prime Minister speaking live there in Mumbai, joint address with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi on his trade mission to the country, talking about the two countries standing side by side as global leaders. And Sir Keir Starmer speaking there, talking about Bollywood films being made in Britain, British universities setting up campuses in India, talking about the close relationship between the two nations. Well, live in Mumbai for us is GB News political correspondent Catherine Forster. What did you make of that address there, Catherine?
Yes, well, the Prime Minister has already met the PM Modi earlier this morning and giving statements. Now, we caught up with him last night. He came and had a dinner, and he was telling us that the pair of them do get on really, really well, and he feels that this burgeoning relationship with India, because they signed that joint trade agreement back in, hear me over the noise, is a huge win for Britain.
Come back to you later. There's a bit of an issue with your sound there, timing with that Tannoy announcement, but we did hear from Narendra Modi earlier saying that they'd signed a comprehensive economic and trade agreement. That, of course, happened during his visit to Britain earlier this year. Keir Starmer there, Ellie, speaking about how they're both global players and talking about the strong relationship between the two nations.
Yep, talking about how they stand side by side when it comes to technology, when it comes to security. Sir Keir Starmer's team posting on his X page in the past few minutes that this deal with India means more investment in the UK, thousands of new jobs across the country, and more money for you and your family. And it is worth saying as well, just in terms of the atmosphere and the reception that Sir Keir Starmer has received in India. Well, it's been like a carnival atmosphere, hasn't it?
Absolutely, and he's clearly enjoying himself, finishing off with an address by wishing on Diwali as well, so ending anyway with a little smile.
Yes, absolutely. Well, we'll try and reconnect with our political correspondent, Catherine Forster, who is live in Mumbai for us. But for now, let's get a check on the weather, shall we, with Honor Krizik.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any fog patches soon clearing away this morning, leaving a mostly bright day for many, though some drizzly outbreaks expected at times in the west. So Northern Ireland, southwestern parts of Scotland, also northwest England, will see a constant feed of drizzle out from the west, so it could be quite damp at times here, particularly across any hilly areas. Elsewhere, we'll see a mix of cloud, also some bright, if not sunny spells at times, and where we see those, it will feel warm and pleasant in the sunshine. Highs reaching around 17 to 18, possibly 19 degrees Celsius across parts of the southeast. Even eastern Scotland should see a warm afternoon. Now we'll start to see a change across Scotland through the course of the afternoon. It could turn quite breezy, particularly around coastal areas in the west. And once again, we'll see this constant feed of cloud, some drizzle, particularly across western hilly areas. Though slightly drier and brighter end to the day across the far east of Scotland. Northern Ireland, similar, fairly cloudy with some drizzle at times. Northwest England could see fairly similar conditions. Even across Wales, we could also see some drizzle across the hills. But for most areas, it should be another dry night. But once again, we'll see plenty of cloud start to feed its way in from the west. The best of the clearer skies are probably going to be across eastern England, but where we see any prolonged clear spells, that means we could be in for a chance of mist and fog during the very early hours of Friday. With plenty of cloud around, that does mean it should be a mostly mild night. Many towns and cities dropping around 9 to 10 degrees Celsius. So for the end of the week, it could be quite a grey, gloomy start, particularly across western Scotland, where we'll continue to see drizzly outbreaks. But through the course of the morning, that cloud should lift and break, any mist and fog clearing away, and that should allow some sunshine to develop, particularly across eastern Scotland, northeastern parts of England, though parts of southern England and Wales could hold on to that cloud through much of the afternoon. But still, once again, where we see the bright and sunny spells, it should be another warm day, highs of around 18 degrees Celsius.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Welcome back. It's 7 minutes past 8, and breaking news this morning, Israel and Hamas have signed the first phase of a Gaza peace deal in what President Trump is hailing a historic and unprecedented event.
Well, this is the moment that President Trump was interrupted during a roundtable event by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He was handed a note about the deal being very close, and it led to this announcement.
Yeah, I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly.
Well, the deal will see Israel withdraw their troops from an agreed-upon zone. In reaction, Israel's Prime Minister said he would not rest until all the hostages were home, while Hamas urged Trump to make the deal happen without delay.
Well, as Israelis and Palestinians celebrated the news, the US President told hostage families that their loved ones would be home by Monday.
Just take care of yourselves. The hostages will come back. They're all coming back on Monday.
Well, let's speak now to former chairman of the Defence Select Committee, Tobias Ellwood. Good to see you this morning, Mr. Ellwood. What do you make of this? How hopeful are you that this will actually bring peace to the Middle East?
Well, good morning. I'm trying to think how many times we've discussed it on your programme. After so many false dawns and potential ceasefires, it does look like a deal is now in place that could finally see those remaining hostages freed after 2 incredible years. These are very early steps indeed towards a larger plan. But as President Trump was outlining there, potentially the hostages could be home. This would be phase 1 of this deal. The Israeli troops would then pull back to an agreed place. And then the difficult part starts as to what happens next. The 20-point plan, quite complicated but lacking detail, would then move into play. That would allow Hamas, those who want to leave Gaza, the ability to do so. A technocratic committee formed to oversee governance of Gaza. The gates open to allow the aid to flow back in. But a lot of what ifs there to see if trust can actually hold. Will those who supported Hamas remain faithful to this deal? Will Israel also honour the deal as well? Once the hostages are home, might they then turn on those who have caused so much problems over the last 2 years? But at this early stage, we can only be able to hope to say, yes, let's get the remaining hostages home and see a deal move forward.
Well, Tobias, obviously the main focus is on what's going to happen now in Israel and also in the Palestinian territories. But this deal will have a significant impact on British politics as well, because there's no secret, of course, that there's been growing tension between the Israeli government and also Downing Street. We had Deputy Foreign Minister Sharon Haskell live with us earlier, really just going very strongly against the British government's approach to this conflict, saying that we had sort of generated Islamist communities in Britain. Do you believe that this conflict has sort of opened up divisions in Britain that were previously covered? And are you confident that we can return to a greater sense of unity after all sort of the hate and anger that it's revealed? Oh, I think Tobias Ellwood's frozen there.
We'll try and reconnect with Tobias Ellwood. In the meantime, let's speak now to Middle East correspondent Yotam Confino. Very good morning to you, Yotam. What's your response to this news that Israel and Hamas have agreed the first phase of the deal? Are you hopeful? Are you positive that this could bring peace to the Middle East at last?
I'm not sure about the Middle East in its entirety. There are still countries in the Middle East that would like to annihilate Israel, such as Iran, for example. But generally, I do think that this is going to bring about tremendous changes, as Egypt also said yesterday. If this deal is actually implemented, other Arab nations will sign peace agreements with Israel, which is a tremendous success, because one of the reasons that Yahya Sinwar, the leader of Hamas, decided to launch the atrocities on October the 7th and hoping to have all countries join him to annihilate Israel was because he wanted to, first of all, destroy Israel, but he wanted to prevent, at the very minimum, Israel from normalizing ties with countries like Saudi Arabia, because Israel was very close to that prior to October the 7th. So if this deal is fully implemented, if Hamas is removed from power in Gaza, if all of these 20 points in Trump's plan actually are fully implemented, I believe that we will see tremendous change for the better in the region. And lastly, I really also hope that the Palestinians will finally have an awakening when there is a new election held in the territories, and they will choose not to vote for Hamas, but for quite literally any other party that's going to run.
But Yotam, of course, we know that Palestinians in Gaza are under enormous pressure from Hamas. Indeed, they're happy to see those civilians killed because it benefits their wartime strategy. With this deal, we're seeing up to 2,000 Palestinian prisoners being released, many of them themselves terrorists and key facilitators of terror. That's going to make it more difficult to see peace, normalization and non-Hamas political movements develop in Gaza.
That is true, although I don't think that those 250 prisoners will necessarily be released into Gaza. I actually don't know where they will be released to. Iran could be an option. Other countries that are pro-Hamas could take them in. But of course, if you release 250 Palestinian terrorists into Gaza, they are, of course, most of them likely, that's what statistics show us, likely going to go back to terror, to the path of terror. But again, if Hamas is removed from power in Gaza, if they hand over their weapons to a new technocratic body made up of Palestinians, then there is hope that they will be able to maintain rule and order, and they will be able to crack down on Hamas every time they pop up, because they will attempt to pop up. Hamas has not gone from a terror organization to a peace-loving organization overnight just because they signed this deal. They're signing this deal because they quite literally have no choice. The entire world, more or less, including their allies, are against them now. They're saying, it's enough. You have shattered the Palestinians and the Israeli lives for 2 years straight now, to a point where even Qatar says it's enough. So I do think that they will try to regroup, they will try to regain power, and attempt to somehow get back into power. But for now, it looks like they will be removed from power, at least in Gaza.
OK, Yotam Confino, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us on the programme this morning.
I should say I was referring to 2,000 prisoners, and you heard Yotam speaking about 250. It's 250 with life sentences, so those are the most severe of those set to be released, but it's still 2,000 who will be coming out of Israeli prisons. Well, let's go back to Tobias Ellwood, former chairman of the Defence Select Committee, who joins us again, Tobias, and it's that focus on Britain we were trying to speak about last time. Are you optimistic that sort of the avalanche of hate that's been exposed by this conflict in Britain, the marches, the support for terrorist organisations. Now that we're aware of this, do you think after the end of this conflict, we're going to be able to confront it and hopefully get rid of it?
Yes, you raise such an important point here. It has spilled over, not just on the streets in the UK, but indeed in other parts of Europe and indeed across the world. It's become very, very binary. Either you support Palestine, ignoring what's happened with Hamas, or you support Israel and ignore what Israel's done as it prosecutes its war. And of course, the detail was always more complicated than that. I've been very critical of Israel's utility of its military power in rightly going after Hamas. But also from the Palestinian perspective, I've called for those wanting support for the Palestinians to recognize that Hamas would have no place in the future in governing Gaza, given what they did 2 years ago. I do hope that the differences, the nuances will be then recognized and the opportunity given, the space given. But listening just to that last contributor, something very important to be raised there. Ideologies don't disappear overnight, and there could be absolutely many in Hamas, in the ranks, who decide to take up this opportunity to leave Gaza themselves. But will others who have been fighting in their thousands against Israel on the streets of Gaza now also give peace the chance, give an opportunity for stability to grow, give the power to ordinary Palestinians to pursue another form of governance that's going to be provided by the Abrahamic Accord signatories and indeed the international community. That's exactly what Palestine absolutely needs now. And it will only last if those who supported Hamas, fought for Hamas, also agree to this deal.
And Tobias, one of the priorities, just heard the Prime Minister speaking there in India, talking about the situation in Gaza, saying one of the priorities now in the next few days is going to be getting humanitarian aid into Gaza. Just how challenging is that going to be? Because we need a stable Gaza in order for humanitarian aid to get in safely.
You're right. It's catch-22 there. It's one of the points of the 20-point plan is that the Rafah crossing will open unhindered to allow, a minimum of 500 trucks in a day and more. But that's just the start. There then is the process of the whole rebuild, the World Bank coming in and other UN organizations helping to provide that reconstruction, which is so overdue. When that happens, that will give faith, I think, hope to ordinary Palestinians that life can indeed be different to what they've actually been enduring, not just for the last couple of years, but at least for the last couple of decades, where they've not been able to do anything because Hamas has been in control. So it's in Israel's interest to make this work, to allow the Palestinian people to have some sort of hope for the future, which it does not involve Hamas at all.
OK, Tobias Ellwood, thank you very much for your time this morning on GB News Breakfast.
Well, do stay with us. We'll be bringing you the very latest on this developing situation with Donald Trump's peace deal between Israel and Gaza. This is GB News Breakfast with Ellie and Charlie.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racist tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What does she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
I'm Tom Harwood. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain's Newsroom, weekday mornings from 9:30.
There's an interesting story, Charlie, in the Daily Mail. 2-year report that claims racism in the UK countryside is getting worse, with abuse normalised and tolerated. What do you think of this academic research?
Rubbish. Well, it's a load of old bunk. Yes, yeah. 2 years, as you say. 2 years to interview how many people? 115. It took 2 years.
Very scientific.
And this is where, people often ask about, what you do when you go to university, or the tuition fees that people have been paying. You know, University of Leicester, where this report was undertaken, have funded this 2-year holiday spree by the sounds of things and cobbled something together at the end. 115 people, that's nobody. But they've asked the question about, do you feel that the countryside is effectively exclusive in any kind of particular way?
Well, let me read this out. The report also claimed that non-verbal cues, such as incessant staring and unfriendly body language, made individuals from ethnic minority backgrounds feel unwelcome.
And no Wellington boots.
That's probably what they were staring at, yes.
Walking shoes. I'm a man with certain vintage. I've never owned a pair of walking shoes.
I haven't got walking shoes. I've got Wellington boots.
I've never owned a pair of walking shoes. I've got a pair of wellies.
Well, there you go.
A pair of trainers.
So we'd both be OK in the countryside.
It does not impede on your appreciation of the countryside having walking shoes or not.
Well, it depends how far you have to walk.
It's pathetic. Haven't these universities got better things to do?
Well, you would have thought so. But the idea that, you know, the countryside is now all of a sudden racist, or the rural communities and our great countryside is all of a sudden exclusive, as I say, it's ridiculous.
GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, and this is GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's 8:22. Let's return now to that breaking news overnight that Israel and Hamas have signed the first phase of the Gaza peace deal in what President Trump is hailing as historic and unprecedented.
Now, Israelis and Palestinians are celebrating the news, with the US president telling hostage families that their loved ones would be home by Monday.
Just take care of yourselves. The hostages will come back. They're all coming back on Monday.
Well, we're joined in the studio by Theo Ashwood, political commentator. Theo, thanks for coming in again. And Trump's involvement here clearly central to this deal getting over the line. And it's interesting to see him speaking to the hostage families straight away.
Yes, I think Donald Trump has done exceptionally well here. Let's wait and see. And I realise there are going to be questions about whether this can hold, but just to get to this point, to get this, to secure now, hopefully all of the hostages, and of course, tragically and horrifically, the bodies of around 28 will be returned to their families by Monday, and I think that is, that is just a huge step forward, and the significance of it cannot be understated. And then we can move towards a ceasefire. I think it's a win for Donald Trump. I also think it's a win for his tactics, his strong-arm tactics of actually going in and trying to bully the situation to secure a peace. I wonder where we would be if the Democrats had won the US election back last November. I cannot for one moment think that we would be at this point. The Middle East now has a chance to return to some sort of normality and try and bring about peace. But domestically, I do have fears that although that we have this peace and we have a ceasefire, that we're going to continue to see these marches, these hateful marches on the streets of London and other cities going forward, which continue to intimidate just one very small community in this country.
And Theo, what's been interesting about those marches is this peace deal has been on the table for quite a while now, and the only element of it holding out was Hamas. They were putting in all sorts of delaying tactics, saying, we don't know where some of the hostages are, we're not sure where their bodies are, etc., etc. But during that whole process, the protests that we saw were against Downing Street and against Israel, even though the blockade to the ceasefire was Hamas. So do you think that with this deal coming in, they're still going to protest?
Yeah, of course they're going to protest. It's for a rump of these supporters, and I appreciate there may be some people there who genuinely just wanted to see a ceasefire. Well, we now have a ceasefire. There's no reason for you to go on these marches in future. This isn't about the conflict per se. This is about wanting to see the destruction of Israel, which is, of course, the only democratic state in the Middle East right now. And that isn't. And I listened to one of your early contributors. I didn't agree with everything they said, but one thing I did agree with is that this isn't just an attack against Israel. It's an attack against the West. I just hope now that we can have some sort of semblance of normality and we can give this peace deal a chance. I also think when I said about Trump's tactics, that I think is really important, is that he's never tried to use the conflict in the Middle East in the same way that I think Starmer, Macron and Mark Carney have in order to try and assuage support within his own country. He's gone in there to give Hamas, not just Hamas an ultimatum, to also give the likes of Jordan and Egypt an ultimatum that this needs to be sorted out. You'll remember his comments that were so controversial about turning Gaza into the Riviera of the Middle East. And he reminds me a little bit of the parent who goes into the bedroom and the teenager's got the headphones on and they're not listening. They say, tidy your room, and they go back downstairs and the teenager ignores them. He's the parent that goes in with the black bin sack and fills it with the PlayStation, fills it with the clothes on the floor and says, right, if you're not going to find a solution, we'll do it my way and I'm going to take these and put these in the bin. And I think Donald Trump has forced the hand of Hamas, he's forced the hand of Egypt to get a grip and to actually bring about a peace deal. And also, I think it's worth noting, he has used his leverage with Benjamin Netanyahu in order to ensure that Israel plays by the rules as well, and ensure that now we're going to see a withdrawal of IDF forces from Gaza, and that actually an authority is going to come in, led by various characters. We don't know exactly who yet, to try and ensure that Gaza can remain at peace and no longer be a threat to Israel.
That sound you can hear if you're listening on the radio is chanting and celebrations in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, and you can see the scenes of euphoria, can't you, Theo? Yeah. There, I mean, waiting 2 long years for this. I wonder, let's focus on the hostages for a moment, shall we? The 20 that we believe to be alive. I mean, the condition, mentally and physically, that they will be in after 2 years of captivity under Hamas.
Unimaginable, and the trauma that they've suffered, but also the trauma of the families. You see the pictures there on your screen, but also the wide, of the country. This has left the scars of October the 7th. I don't think will ever heal for this country, but at least now Hamas loses its leverage in this, basically keeping this conflict alive by handing over the hostages. And we just hope that this can go through by Sunday into Monday, and then it's possible to have a lasting peace. But of course, they've been holding on to the hostages and keeping them in appalling conditions and murdering so many of them in order to prolong this conflict. I think there's a misapprehension amongst many people that somehow Hamas is there to represent the Palestinian people, and it's represented the Palestinian people so well. It's quite the opposite. Hamas don't give a fig about the Palestinian people. They are simply there to prolong this conflict and to see the end of Israel, propped up, of course, by Iran.
Theo, just before you go, how will the decision of Sir Keir Starmer to recognise a Palestinian state so close to this peace deal being achieved, let's be frank, by Arab nations and Donald Trump, how will that be remembered, do you think, in history?
I think it's a very good question. I can only hope that actually, Charlie, that we can move on from it. But I imagine it's probably caused quite a long-lasting. It'll sit badly in the memories of many in Israel and within the Israeli government. It's worth remembering, of course, and you'll know this, that Israel provides key intelligence to our own agencies, security agencies, when it comes to dealing with terrorist threats to Britain upstream in the Middle East. We know historically that terrorists or those who've been radicalised have often travelled to the Middle East for training to then return to this country with that training and commit horrific crimes on the streets of Britain. And Israel has been incredibly supportive in the way that it has worked with our special forces and our intelligence agencies to prevent that from happening and to deal with those individuals before they are able to return to this country and commit their heinous acts.
OK. Theo Ashwood, thank you very much indeed.
Now, if you are travelling to work or school, here's your latest traffic and travel update. And remember, you can stay with us on digital and radio.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Motorists are reminded to exercise caution on the A9 Kessock Bridge thanks to high winds currently challenging driving conditions. In South Gloucestershire, there's a road traffic collision on the M5 northbound between Junction 15 and Junction 14. One lane is closed. Meanwhile, congestion affects those on the A3 northbound within Surrey between the A244 and the A243, causing expected delays of 1 hour. On the trains, cross-country services face disruption between Brockenhurst and Southampton Central. Additionally, northern services are replaced by buses between Corkicle and Whitehaven. Stay up to date at gbnews.com for more travel news.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Welcome back, and still to come, we'll have Paul Coit back in the studio. He'll be here with us for all the latest sport, and that's next on GB News Breakfast with me, Charlie Peters, and Ellie Costello.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, though.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It's sports time. Paul Coit's here with us.
Sir
Let's start with Man U.
Shall we?
And Sir Jim.
Sir Jim Ratcliffe has been speaking. He was interviewed and asked about Ruben Amorim because, you know the manager.
Oh, yeah. It's not going well, is it?
It's a year next month that he's been in charge of Manchester United. Whereas Sir Jim Ratcliffe says he's going to give him 3 years.
I'm very surprised at this.
I'm very surprised. I don't know whether he realised what he said, but he was on a podcast yesterday, the Times Business podcast. This is what he had to say.
Amarim gets at least the rest of the season then.
Amarim, he's a good guy. Yeah, I mean,
that's not the same thing. He's a good guy. It's not the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I would say Ruben, he needs to demonstrate that he's a great coach over 3 years.
So you give him 3 years?
Yeah, that's where I would be. Yeah, 3 years, because it's not football's not overnight.
No, and as you say, the Alex Ferguson example is exactly that, isn't it?
And you look at Arteta at Arsenal. You know, he had a miserable time for the first couple of years. You know.
Now, Paul, when you were writing your headline for this story earlier on in the programme, I recognised it said 11 moths instead of 11 months.
Yes.
Do you think that was a description, perhaps, of the starting 11 for Manchester United? The problem lies with the players and not necessarily Ruben Amorim.
I think you could be right. I think you could be right. But the thing is, not necessarily, because Ruben Amorim has said that he is only going to play one way and he will not change. And managers do have to bend a little.
You and I know exactly what this is like when managers don't have a plan B, perhaps.
Who on earth could we be speaking about right now, Charlie? But anyway, I would be amazed if 3 years, he's given 3 years. If it continues to go down, I mean, it's all very well to sit there and go, well, you know, Alex Ferguson, that was a long time ago and things are different now. And if a manager is failing and if it's not going well, nobody is going to go, well, you know what, we've been relegated, but we've still got another year, so we'll give it 3 years. You know, I admire his confidence, Sir Jim, but whether it's going to last that long, I don't know. 15th last season, worst in 50 years for Manchester United, £200 million spent. They lost 3 games already this season. They've lost to Grimsby. It's not good, but, you know, it's gutsy to give him the time. So we'll see. Talking about managers, Steven Gerrard.
Oh, yeah.
As we did mention a couple of days ago, or as I did suggest, he will probably be on the top of Rangers' list, and now he's going to be meeting with Rangers because he's a guy that doesn't have a job right now, came back from Saudi Arabia, did well at Rangers, so it makes sense for both him, for club and for Stephen as well. for the guy, for the man, for him.
He flourished there, and I like how you like to say club and country almost, because there's that great clip when he turned up there.
Yes.
Because when he walked into the changing room, and there's a portrait of Queen Elizabeth II in the Rangers changing room.
There is indeed.
And Scouser Stephen sort of walks in and looks at that and looks almost bewildered. It's a very different culture and atmosphere to the one perhaps he grew up with at Liverpool.
I think so. Yeah. I think very much.
But they still took to it.
But it worked. It did work. And the other one, the manager I want to mention, is Javi Gracia. Now, Watford. How many managers... This is one for you, Ellie.
Yeah. I didn't realise you were so sporty.
Here we are.
Many surprises, to my knowledge.
You're disappointed, aren't you?
I thought you'd be on my side. Yeah, OK.
How many managers have Watford had since 2012? 13 years. The Pozzo family bought the club, and they are quite quick to fire people. They're not going to give anybody 3 years. So how many managers in this amount of time, 13 years, have Watford have? How many?
8. Any
advance on 8?
17.
Any advance on 17?
20.
Any advance on 20? 22 managers Watford have had. Javi Gracia is the new manager. He was the last Watford manager 12 managers ago.
Wow.
And, and do you know why he's been brought back in?
Tell me.
I'll tell you why, because there's no damn managers left that haven't managed Watford. That's why.
They've had to recycle.
So it's back to the future. So good luck to Javi Gracia. And he's gone into his manager's office, which strangely has one of those revolving doors that you get on hotels. I wonder why.
That's crazy.
I wonder why. England play tonight. England and Wales at Wembley. No Harry Kane because he's injured. No Jude Bellingham because, well, Thomas Tuchel doesn't seem to like him very much.
Oh, dear.
And Thomas Tuchel has said that England will be underdogs going into next year's World Cup. As I said earlier, if you haven't won it since 1966, it kind of makes sense. You're not going to be expected to win, are you? But we'll see. And Scotland play Greece. Scotland play Greece tonight. World Cup qualifier for them.
OK. Thanks, Coity.
Good point. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Right then, it's time for getting your entry in for our biggest Great British giveaway to date. What's in it, Ellie Costello?
30 grand in tax-free cash and a brand new 4-berth motorhome. Here are all of the details that you need for a chance to make it all yours.
You're not going to want to miss our greatest Great British giveaway so far. You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. And remember, if you can dream it, you can drive it away. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Still to come, what are young people more likely to divorce over than older people? We'll tell you all about that in the papers with Christo Fufas and Scarlett Maguire. But first, if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
I hope we haven't forgotten anything.
Travel insurance, I tick that box.
Yeah, but remember what you forgot last year.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Some unsettled weather across eastern areas of Spain. Storm Alice is set to bring heavy showers and also some thunderstorms. Mostly dry and settled across Madeira and also Tenerife, but all eyes on eastern areas of Spain. Some intense thunderstorms here likely to bring some localised flooding. A few showers across parts of Sardinia on Friday, but elsewhere, once again, mostly dry and settled. Plenty of sunshine, and this theme will continue over into the weekend with warm temperatures too, widely in the mid to high 20s.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Miriam, you can't be serious. Scrapping the triple lock on state pensions? Madness.
Andrew, we just can't carry on pretending. The numbers just don't add up. We've got to be honest with people. We've got to face the facts. That's what people want.
Well, that's what you get on GB News and on Britain's Newsroom. Lively debates, lively conversation.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first, and we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pearce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's News Channel.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
Oh, yes. It's pretty crass and crude in places, but it is basically making fun of Hitler. And it's to sort of a shady shyster producer who politely stoops old ladies to get investment money. And he figures out, with the help of a young, twitchy accountant, that if they take a lot of money in, put on a show that's guaranteed to flop, they won't have to repay the money, and then they're going to do a runner to Brazil. And of course, they think that Springtime for Hitler is the ideal show, and the guy that plays Franz, who's the writer of it, has like a sort of tin pot hat and these pigeons that harmonise with swastikas on their back. For me, he kind of stole the show. I thought he was wonderful. But they basically put on this show, and of course it becomes a hit. And people think that it's a satire when they were trying to outrage and horrify people and get the show to close.
Because they learned that they could make more money with a flop than they could with a hit.
Yes, because they don't have to repay anybody. So that was the idea behind all of that. It's wonderfully done. This was at the Menier Chocolate Factory before. I didn't love it quite as much there. I just thought it was a little bit cramped. And this is a show that it's broad. It needs big moments, big swings. I liked it. It's on at the Garrick. It's all the way through till January. I just grinned all the way through. It's brilliantly done. Everyone on stage. Andy Nyman in the lead as Max Bialystock is absolutely sensational, filling very big Nathan Lane and Zira Mostel boots. But I think the whole cast is great. I just think everyone is up there absolutely going for it. And you saw it, no?
My mouth was on the floor at some moments. I mean, it is bawdy, it is outrageous.
And the show stands up. it's still relevant. It's still, you know, about possibly what's going on in the world everywhere as well, and fascism and dictatorships, but also about the proper use of satire.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Welcome back. We're going through the papers in the company of Christo Fufas and Scarlett Maguire this morning. Morning, you two.
Morning.
Good morning. Scarlett, we are hoping for a peace deal to be, well, commencing officially from about 10 o'clock our time this morning with a ceasefire taking place. Do you think, making it about the UK perspective now, that this will be the end of the pro-Palestine marches?
Well, it won't be the end until there's we need more than a ceasefire in Gaza. We need a proper peace deal, and we need a peace deal that guarantees that Gaza will be for Palestinians. I mean, which is what is agreed by everybody but Netanyahu and Donald Trump, although Trump seems to have moved on this. So I think, I think that you had Robert Fox on saying, you know, the devil is in the detail. It would be fantastic if everything could stop, and the ceasefire would lead to all the hostages being released, and the end of a war in Gaza, and then talking about what sort of a Palestinian Authority is going to run Gaza.
I mean, Christo, Scott just said that everything can stop. I'm concerned that perhaps it won't, not only in the Middle East, but also in Britain. We're still going to see protests. We're still going to see this rise of sort of emboldened Islamists who have been very happy to go out, support terrorist organisations and create this atmosphere of vitriol that has spilled out into our streets. I mean, are you nervous that we're going to continue to see that even as this peace deal is signed?
I am, and it's about the proportion of the protests. I don't mind, and I've always said this, I don't mind if people want to go out and peacefully protest that they hate what's happening in Gaza and that they would like a state of Palestine, as long as there is an acknowledgement that there are hostages as well and that actually that needs to be addressed. I think where people get upset is the toxicity of some of those marches, the chants of some of those marches, and the supporting of what have become terror groups, you know, especially when you saw the attack on the UK airbase. That's when it crosses a line, in my opinion, and I don't see that stopping because I think it's about the anger that people have, and it's all got a bit toxic. And that's a shame.
We were hearing in Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, we saw people going around chanting. I've just been having a translation being sent to me from someone in Israel saying that they were singing, we shall see how great everything will be in the year that is to come. It's remarkable positivity from those Israelis after 2 years of...
It's incredible. I mean, because as a country, they're suffering from PTSD. I mean, there's no question that what happened to them was on October the 7th was absolutely appalling and hit the whole country and Jewish communities across the world. I mean, but what's been amazing, actually, a lot of the relatives of the hostages have been incredibly positive, and they've been incredibly positive about a future. But I mean, Israel is a very, very split country, and the people in Hostage Square don't necessarily represent the whole of Israel. And remember that, you know, way to what we would call the right, I mean, is Netanyahu and his cabinet, I mean, who no longer represent, I mean, when you even get the Israeli Defence Force, the top of the Israeli Defence Force, saying we don't agree that this war can be won in this way, you've got terrible problems. I mean, so it's a very, very split country that needs to unify. And it can only unify afterwards.
Just very quickly, we're hearing some breaking news that the finance minister in the government, that is, you know, Smotrich, member of the very right of Netanyahu's coalition, He opposes the Gaza ceasefire deal. And
I think that's
he
not a
insists
surprise.
that he would vote against it. You say it's not a surprise, I agree with you, but it does point to the fact that perhaps there is a little bit too much optimism.
Yes, and I have to say I'm not optimistic. I'm hopeful without being optimistic, but always Smotrich, has been holding, the country hostage, saying, if you don't do this, I will leave. And remember that Britain refuses to have anything to do with him because of what he's doing in the West Bank. And that's one of the things that we forget, is that while all our attention is on Gaza, which is terrible, what Smotrich and his people are doing in the West Bank to colonise it for the Israelis, when actually, internationally it is a Palestinian enclave, is really frightening. So yes, that is just the beginning of the problems.
Christo, let's look at something entirely different, shall we, in the Daily Mail, only because we teased it before the break. What is causing young adults to go into divorce proceedings?
Well, this is a really interesting story because the reason that most young adults, these are marriages who are of young people who are 18 to 24, they're ending because of rows about politics and culture wars. 58% of marriages are ending because of issues such as immigration, transgender rights, climate activism, and cancel culture. Only 5% of couples aged 65 or over claimed such disagreements actually played a part in them getting divorced. But if you're younger, nearly 60%, nearly 6 in 10 marriages are ending because you disagree on politics. I don't agree on all the politics of my partner, and he certainly doesn't agree with all of mine, but I think that we have a few taboo subjects that are banned because we'll just end up arguing. But I also think it adds, like, we have some really interesting conversations, and I love the fact that he makes me think a bit differently, and I think he likes that I make him think a bit differently sometimes, and then we find a bit of a middle ground. Isn't that what we're lacking in debate?
I don't think that exists anymore, especially with young people and young couples. I think they are used to a social media world where they are in this echo chamber where everybody thinks the same thing as them. They don't like to engage with people who think the opposite, and they certainly don't want to be married to them.
I think that people think that if you've got an opinion I disagree with, I have to dislike you as a whole. There's nothing about you I can find redeeming. I disagree with you on this issue, so that means you're a terrible person and I can't possibly marry you.
There's that sense there, Scarlett, that right-wingers think left-wingers are simply mistaken, but lefties think the right are evil. Isn't that a bit of an issue we have?
Right, of course, because the right wing are always so nice.
It's incredible how we still get on, no?
I know. No, I think what's interesting is that actually, most of my very close friends and I agree on politics. We have terrible arguments because once you agree on something, then there's still a lot to disagree on.
Could you marry someone who was a complete right-winger?
No.
But lefties love arguing internally. You're all splitters, right? You always have these little rows.
I know.
I'm not surprised by this story at all. When you look at the gender difference in young people in terms of politics and where men are moving more to the right, women more to the left, this makes total sense.
But it's also the thing about that age thing is they're growing up. They're developing their politics. They're fun, and I feel very strongly that living in an echo chamber. I would not come here if I wanted to live in an echo chamber. It's bad for you, and it's really, really good to be challenged, but maybe you want to go home and sort of not always
We have just lost the ability, and these 18 to 24-year-olds have lost the ability just to agree to disagree, and we used to be able to do that. Why can't we do that anymore? Why can't we find middle ground? Why can't we just see whether you respect someone else's opinion that you might not get along with, and then preferably marry them? Don't do it at the altar.
Christo, Scarlett, I've got to leave it there, I'm afraid. Thank you very much for your company this morning. Let's get a check now on the weather.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any fog patches soon clearing away this morning, leaving a mostly bright day for many, though some drizzly outbreaks expected at times in the west. So Northern Ireland, southwestern parts of Scotland, also northwest England, will see a constant feed of drizzle out from the west, so it could be quite damp at times here, particularly across any hilly areas. Elsewhere, we'll see a mix of cloud, also some bright, if not sunny spells at times, and where we see those, it will feel warm and pleasant in the sunshine. Highs reaching around 17 to 18, possibly 19 degrees Celsius across parts of the southeast. Even eastern Scotland should see a warm afternoon. Now we'll start to see a change across Scotland through the course of the afternoon. It could turn quite breezy, particularly around coastal areas in the west. And once again, we'll see this constant feed of cloud, some drizzle, particularly across western hilly areas. There's a slightly drier and brighter end to the day across the far east of Scotland. Northern Ireland, similar, fairly cloudy with some drizzle at times. Northwest England could see fairly similar conditions. Even across Wales, we could also see some drizzle across the hills. But for most areas, it should be another dry night. But once again, we'll see plenty of cloud start to feed its way in from the west. The best of the clearer skies are probably going to be across eastern England, but where we see any prolonged clear spells, that means we could be in for a chance of mist and fog during the very early hours of Friday. With plenty of cloud around, that does mean it should be a mostly mild night. Many towns and cities dropping around 9 to 10 degrees Celsius. So for the end of the week, it could be quite a grey, gloomy start, particularly across western Scotland, where we'll continue to see drizzly outbreaks. But through the course of the morning, that cloud should lift and break, any mist and fog clearing away, and that should allow some sunshine to develop, particularly across eastern Scotland, northeastern parts of England, though parts of southern England and Wales could hold on to that cloud through much of the afternoon. But still, once again, where we see the bright and sunny spells, it should be another warm day, highs of around 18 degrees Celsius.
Today's outlook: cool, calm and completely horizontal. Boxed Aircon sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning. This is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Road users should exercise caution on the A9 Kessock Bridge due to high winds. Eastbound travellers on the M4 between junctions 4.5, Winnisforgan and 4.3 Landarcy should anticipate congestion. The M5 southbound in Gloucestershire is delayed with 2 lanes closed between junction 11A and junction 12 due to a collision. In Surrey, the A3 northbound from A244 to A243 might experience hour-long delays. And on the trains, cross-country services are disrupted between Brockenhurst and Southampton Central, and Northern has replaced trains with buses between Corkicle and Whitehaven. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. This brand new 2025 Benamar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up? About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Good morning. Hamas signed the first phase of the Gaza peace deal.
Well, President Trump has hailed the breakthrough as historic and unprecedented.
Yeah, I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly.
Well, President Trump says hostages could be released as early as this weekend.
Just take care of yourselves. The hostages will come back. They're all coming back on Monday.
So will this deal finally be signed and bring peace to the Middle East?
Well, let's hear what the Deputy Chairman of the Conservative Party, Matt Vickers, had to say on the programme this morning.
It does sound like very, very positive news. I think it's something everybody should be able to get behind. Everybody should want to see those hostages returned. Everybody should want to see an end to that crisis in Gaza.
While legal experts have questioned the reasoning behind the CPS decision to drop the Chinese spies case.
The next Conservative government will abolish stamp duty on your home.
Yes, Kemi Badenoch, they're promising to abolish stamp duty for primary homes in a surprise announcement at the Conservative Party conference.
And Sir Keir Starmer has said the UK will not relax visa rules for India as he visits the country for trade talks.
Netflix has released the much-anticipated Victoria Beckham documentary that promises to be brilliantly candid. We'll take you through all of the highlights later on this morning.
Hello there, good morning. We'll see any fog patches clearing away through the course of the morning, leaving a brighter day, though there's also some drizzle in the forecast. Stay tuned and I'll have all the details.
Good morning, it's just gone 9 o'clock. I'm Ellie Costello.
And I'm Charlie Peters, and this is GB News Breakfast.
It's been a very busy programme this morning, hasn't it? Lots of you getting in touch this morning. Michael, talking about young people's marriages breaking down. This is in the papers this morning. Younger adults are more likely to divorce due to rows about politics and culture wars than older couples. This is in the Daily Mail this morning. Many people pointing out that, well, 18 to 24-year-olds is too young to get married.
Yes.
Others saying you should think about your wife, especially in terms of the marriage vows, honour and obey. Just go along with what the wife says.
Yeah, you can have two views and you compromise and agree with her, right? That's the good strategy, don't you
That's
think?
what many are suggesting.
Some are saying.
In the views this morning. Another person being in touch just saying that Kemi Badenoch's speech was very impressive yesterday, putting that rabbit out of the hat, a very big rabbit, about stamp duty, saying that she would get rid of stamp duty on all primary homes. Seems to have gone down very well with you at home.
It's generated a storm, but also we've had plenty of you getting in touch and saying, well, where was this a year ago? You know, it's been a year since she was in charge of the Conservative Party, making a lot of, well-costed, fully briefed, well-prepared statements and policy announcements, but they had a bit of a vacuum that Reform stepped into.
They certainly did, and perhaps they wouldn't have seen the defections of Danny Kruger, Jake Berry, the numbers of Tory councillors that have defected to Reform. Perhaps all of those wouldn't have gone if we'd have seen some of these policies, if we'd seen some of that fighting talk that we saw from Kemi Badenoch yesterday. But then, perhaps, as with any new job, it takes a little while to settle in, a little while to think through what you'd like to do in that role. Perhaps Kemi just needed that time.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of criticism for the Reform Party, saying that you've got these announcements, they're being very bold, but are they fully prepared? Whereas heard Matt Vickers, Deputy Chairman, saying, look, this ECHR plan that we've got, it's got 200 pages of legal briefing. Can't say I've read it yet, Matt, but they're very keen to say that they've done the work to prove that they should be taken seriously on this.
Well, let us know what you think on that one. gbnews.com/yoursay. Now to our top story this morning, and Israel and Hamas have signed the first phase of the Gaza peace deal in what President Trump is hailing as historic and unprecedented.
Well, this is the moment that President Trump was interrupted during a roundtable event by the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. He sounded a note about the deal being very close, and it led to this announcement.
Yeah, I was just given a note by the Secretary of State saying that we're very close to a deal in the Middle East, and they're going to need me pretty quickly.
Well, the deal will see Israel withdraw their troops from an agreed-upon zone.
Well, in reaction, Israel's Prime Minister said he would not rest until all the hostages were home, while Hamas urged Trump to make the deal happen without delay.
Well, as Israelis and Palestinians celebrated the news, the US president told hostage families that their loved ones would be home by Monday.
Just take care of yourselves. The hostages will come back. They're all coming back on Monday.
Well, let's speak to broadcaster and podcast host Johnny Gold. Johnny, thank you very much for joining us on GB News Breakfast this morning. We were seeing live pictures earlier today from Hostage Square in Tel Aviv. There's a party atmosphere there, people singing that finally, perhaps, they will see good times return to Israel. What's your reaction to this deal this morning?
Look, it's wonderful news on Hostage Square. It's wonderful news for the morale of the Jewish nation and Israel and, of course, the diaspora. But, of course, what it also heralds is the recruitment, the return of hundreds of Hamas soldiers over the border into Gaza. Let's not forget that amid all the joy of this terrible conflict at a near end, that it was the release of Yahya Sinwar along the Gilad Shalit deal that enabled this terrible invasion on October the 7th to happen. So we have to temper the reality of what is essentially not exactly a peace deal, but a quiet deal. This phase of peace with Hamas and its so-called successors is tempered by the fact that there are new recruits, new soldiers returning. You'll see celebration, you'll see machine guns fired into the air, you'll see Hamas emboldened and reassuming some control over Gaza, which the IDF have forced them into retreat on.
And with that in mind, Johnny, what hope do you have that this will hold? Because we've seen ceasefires before, haven't we? We've seen some hostages return to Israel before. How is this different to what we've seen go ahead of us?
Well, Hamas need to show that they haven't lost. October the 7th was supposed to be an all-sides confrontation with Israel to end the Jewish state. That hasn't happened. And so this next phase for their ultimate charter, which is to destroy the state of Israel, it could be back on. The IDF will retreat as part of the deal, but it cannot be guaranteed that if rockets return to Sderot, to Tel Aviv, if Iran gets involved again, then this ceasefire will herald a new phase. Not forgetting Syria, who have been told, the new regime has been told, if you stray south of Damascus, you're in trouble. So what this is a great day for the hostages. It's a great day for President Trump. He wants the Nobel Peace Prize. Benjamin Netanyahu will get a great political prize as well out of this. But this is quiet for Israel, not peace.
Isn't it depressing, Johnny, that we're looking at these live pictures in Tel Aviv of the celebration and the joy, but the scenes we're expecting to see in Britain this weekend, in perhaps Trafalgar Square, are going to be scenes of protest and anger and, quite likely, as we've seen at many of these protests, rather a lot of hate. And that regardless of the decisions taken by Israel to end this war, we're going to see these protests and anger.
Indeed. The mask will come off if these protests continue after the end of the Israel-Hamas war, the October the 7th war, because it will show what these protests are about. They're about the destruction of the state of Israel.
OK, Johnny Gold, thank you very much for your thoughts there this morning. Sorry to cut you short there. We are speaking now to the government and the Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, Pat McFadden, who joins us now. Good to see you this morning, Mr McFadden.
Good morning.
Good morning. And can I have your response, please, to President Trump securing the first phase of the Gaza deal, Israel and Hamas agreeing to this first phase of the peace plan? What's your reaction to that breaking news overnight?
Oh, I think it's a tremendously important moment for the world. We've had 2 years of hostages being held, a terrible war, thousands of people being killed in Gaza. If, and of course it's always a big if in the Middle East, but if this holds, then it will hold out the prospect of all the hostages, dead or alive, being released and returned to their families. It will hold out the prospect of humanitarian aid going in to Gaza, where people are living in such desperate circumstances. But I believe that even more important than those two things is it might hold out the prospect for something we haven't had for a couple of decades now, which is the prospect of a real and lasting peace here, backed by the Arab countries in the region, backed by the United States, backed by the UK, the whole international community that wants to break out of this cycle of hostilities between Israel and Gaza.
And if it is a dramatic arrival of peace to the region, Mr. McFadden, where do you think you'll be when you'll be watching President Trump receiving his Nobel Peace Prize?
Well, I don't know if that will happen, but...
Do you want it to happen?
Well, that's for the Nobel Committee, but I do think he deserves great credit for putting his shoulder behind this plan that was announced last week. Our own Prime Minister announced his support for the plan at our Labour Party conference in Liverpool last week. And American weight, diplomatically, financially, politically, is so important to this. And I think it's been really critical to us getting to this point. So I think it's a very hopeful moment for the world. I hope this sticks. That's always uncertain in the Middle East. But we do wake up this morning with more hope about this situation than we've had for a long time.
Yeah, and we hope that that ceasefire holds. We hope there can be peace between Gaza and Israel. If there is, do you hope there'll be an end to these pro-Palestine marches that we've been seeing for the past 2 years?
Well, we won't need them if we have a lasting peace. And that is, to me, as I said, almost the most important thing about this, because there have been ceasefires, there have been temporary ceasefires. Even before the events of the last 2 years, there was periodic rocket fire from Gaza into Israel. Then the IDF would respond, and you had a pattern of this for years. So if we have a lasting peace that secures a good future for the Palestinian people living alongside a secure and safe Israel, I think that's something everyone should welcome.
Mr. McFadden, can I draw your attention to obviously this very tricky story about these two men who are facing charges of spying for China, dropped by the CPS. We've heard from the Director of Public Prosecutions making a very rare intervention, saying they were hoping for more evidence. And Sir Keir Starmer has said that the problem lies with the last Conservative government, who only defined China as an epoch-defining challenge. Well, last night, the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philps, said that Starmer has just lied about the collapse of the China spying trial, saying that actually the previous government regularly described China as a threat. Is your government using a false excuse to explain the decision by the CPS to drop this prosecution?
No, we're not. I'd make 2 points. First of all, it's for the Director of Public Prosecutions to decide or not to decide to proceed with a prosecution. That's not a political decision. But secondly, on this question of evidence and definitions and so on, the last government were very clear. The Foreign Secretary at the time made a speech in the Mansion House in 2023 saying he thought it was wrong to define China in one single word. And the important point made by the Prime Minister yesterday during his trip to India was these alleged offences happened during the period of the last government, and therefore the evidence and the definitions have to come from the period in which the alleged offences, and I have to say alleged, were committed. And as a former Director of Public Prosecutions, he of course knows the legal situation very well, and he outlined it very clearly yesterday.
You mentioned the Prime Minister's trip to India. We saw him this morning talking with the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, talking about them standing side by side as nations and as global leaders. We also saw this week Narendra Modi wish President Putin a very happy birthday and wish him success. Is India truly a friend of Britain?
I think India is a friend of Britain. It's a really important relationship. India will be in no doubt where we stand on Ukraine. We believe Russia's invasion was wrong, unprovoked. We'll never be one of those British political voices that says somehow Russia was provoked into that. That's not our stance. We've stood foursquare behind Ukraine in its fight to secure its future and to decide in its own future. And wherever we go in the world, we'll always make sure that that's our stance.
OK, Mr McFadden, just before we let you go this morning, you are here to talk to us this morning about job advisors being embedded in GP surgeries as tens of thousands more sick and disabled people are offered help into work. Now, some people will look at these headlines this morning and say they don't want a visit to the doctors to become a visit to the benefits police. How are you going to ensure that this isn't going to put people off who need medical treatment seeing their GP?
It's not the benefits police, it's support to get people into work, and it's really important. And through the early stages of programmes like this, we've had, for example, referrals from mental health teams with people who whose condition has improved, and they say, I now think I could get back into work, and they then get referred to the kind of support that I'm announcing today to help them back into work. This is really important for two reasons. First of all, we've had a binary divide in the benefits system between fit for work and unfit for work, and those classed unfit for work are written off, forgotten about, often never contacted again. I want to put an end to that. And secondly, the benefit system and the way that it works has to respond to the different kinds of conditions under which people are now being signed off sick. If we were having this discussion 20 years ago, it would have been mostly physical disability. We're now seeing a much broader range of conditions. They're not all permanent, so I'm not going to write people off. I believe if people can work, work is good for them, and I want to get the support to wherever they are in the community, whether that's a health setting or another setting. Let's get the support to people, help them into work, better for them, better for the taxpayer in the future too.
All right, Secretary of State for Work and Pensions, Pat McFadden, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Now just time to tell you about the latest, greatest Great British Giveaway. Have a go.
You're not going to want to miss our greatest Great British giveaway so far. You could bank an incredible £30,000 in tax-free cash to spend however you like. And if that wasn't enough, you'll also get to drive away in this brand new motorhome. With thanks to Marquis Leisure, this brand new 2025 Benimar Primero could be yours. It comes with all the mod cons you'd expect from a vehicle worth over £74,000 and comfortably sleeps 4 people. This prize package is worth over £104,000. And remember, if you can dream it, you can drive it away. For another chance to win, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB16 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrants must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 31st of October. The winner will be contacted live on GB News, week commencing 10th November. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff.
Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood.
So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There, you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Okoye, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to GB News Breakfast. Now, Victoria Beckham has laid her feelings bare in a brand new docu-series. Let's have a listen.
People thought I was that miserable cow that never smiled. But I do. Don't be shocked.
Well, the former Spice Girl reflects on fame, family and her fashion empire. Well, joining us now in the studio is GB News entertainment editor Alex Davis, who has started to watch it. What do you think?
I have, yes. There's revelations aplenty in what Victoria Beckham has described as not a vanity project. This is her new 3-part Netflix documentary series, which basically explores her transition from Spice Girl pop star into fashion designer on the New York catwalk and all the fashion weeks and stuff like that. It delves into her upbringing as well. There's, like I said, she opens up about things like her eating disorder growing up, her anxieties growing up, and touches upon, obviously, her family life with one Sir David, and then her career progression from, like I say, pop star to serious fashion designer. But
does she mention her son, Brooklyn?
She mentions 2 of her sons. No, she mentions her family. That's not fair of me, actually. But obviously, at the moment, the Beckhams are in the midst of somewhat of a family feud. They had the premiere at Mayfair last night, and it was very notable that one of the Beckhams was absent, a certain Brooklyn Beckham. For some reason, we have reports as to why they're at loggerheads at the moment. They're not on speaking terms, but Brooklyn, David and Victoria, locking horns.
Is that mentioned at all in the documentary, or is it avoided?
No, it's very much how much she loves her family, does everything for her family without name-checking Brooklyn or his wife, Nicola Peltz, who many believe is at the centre of the reason why they're not talking at the moment.
OK, entertainment editor Alex Davis, thank you very much for joining us this morning. It sounds like a very compelling documentary series.
Well, coming up at 9:30 this morning, Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates, also a compelling watch.
Doesn't sound compelling to me at all, and I bet it won't examine why her fashion label has lost tens of millions of pounds.
We won't be staying up late to watch it then, Andrew.
What have you got coming up on the programme?
Well, we're obviously going to be covering the latest in the Gaza peace deal. We're expecting that to be signed. But also, we think we need to keep the pressure up on these Chinese allegations, because it's the kind of thing that could bring the government down. That's what some commentators are saying.
Yeah. I mean, why was this spy trial dropped? Was it down to the Prime Minister and his special advisor on national security, Jonathan Powell, who's got such close links to China?
Do you think the story can run and run? Because we had Theo Ashwood in earlier saying it's not the sort of story, perhaps, that you can get 5 powerful questions in at PMQs.
Well, it should be.
Yeah, and of course, the Commons hasn't been sitting for weeks.
No.
Back next week. It's a big issue, I think.
But if we can make such a fuss about minor misdemeanours of cabinet ministers in their private lives, we should certainly be making a fuss about potential national security threats like this.
We certainly
Anyway,
should.
all that coming up.
And we'll be reflecting on Kemi Badenoch's amazing speech yesterday. And we're going to go to the weather.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, good morning. Welcome to your GB News weather update from the Met Office. Any fog patches soon clearing away this morning, leaving a mostly bright day for many, though some drizzly outbreaks expected at times in the west. So Northern Ireland, southwestern parts of Scotland, also northwest England, will see a constant feed of drizzle out from the west, so it could be quite damp at times here, particularly across any hilly areas. Elsewhere, we'll see a mix of cloud, also some bright, if not sunny spells at times, and where we see those, it will feel warm and pleasant in the sunshine. Highs reaching around 17 to 18, possibly 19 degrees Celsius across parts of the southeast. Even eastern Scotland should see a warm afternoon. Now we'll start to see a change across Scotland through the course of the afternoon. It could turn quite breezy, particularly around coastal areas in the west. And once again, we'll see this constant feed of cloud, some drizzle, particularly across western hilly areas. There is slightly drier and brighter end to the day across the far east of Scotland. Northern Ireland, similar, fairly cloudy with some drizzle at times. Northwest England could see fairly similar conditions. Even across Wales, we could also see some drizzle across the hills. But for most areas, it should be another dry night. But once again, we'll see plenty of cloud start to feed its way in from the west. The best of the clearer skies are probably going to be across eastern England, but where we see any prolonged clear spells, that means we could be in for a chance of mist and fog during the very early hours of Friday. With plenty of cloud around, that does mean it should be a mostly mild night. Many towns and cities dropping around 9 to 10 degrees Celsius. So for the end of the week, it could be quite a grey, gloomy start, particularly across western Scotland, where we'll continue to see drizzly outbreaks. But through the course of the morning, that cloud should lift and break, any mist and fog clearing away, and that should allow some sunshine to develop, particularly across eastern Scotland, northeastern parts of England, though parts of southern England and Wales could hold on to that cloud through much of the afternoon. But still, once again, where we see the bright and sunny spells, it should be another warm day, highs of around 18 degrees Celsius.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Motorists should be cautious on the A9 Kessock Bridge due to strong winds. In South Gloucestershire, one lane is closed on the M5 northbound between junctions 15 and 14, causing 20-minute delays. Congestion on the M60 clockwise in Tameside between junctions 23 and 24 may delay journeys, with normal conditions anticipated soon. In Lincolnshire, all lanes are closed on the A1 northbound between A151 and A607 due to a vehicle fire. And on the trains, cross-country services are affected between Brockenhurst and Southampton Central, and Burton-on-Trent and Derby. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
While the organisers work, it is lunchtime for the guinea pigs. Let me give Helen you this.
Thank you. There we go. This is Ziggy, and she's one of our 7 rescue piggies that we brought along with us today.
And Helen, you're here with this amazing model village where the guinea pigs are enjoying.
Yeah.
Guinea pigs don't really need as much space as this, though, but it is nice.
It is lovely. I mean, you know, who wouldn't want your own pub and your own nail bar? But on a serious note, the reason we've built such a big enclosure here today is just to provide that message that bigger is always better. Guinea pigs love exploring, they love foraging, you know, it's really good for their mental well-being. So the bigger space you can provide them, the better. And I think ours are having a really nice time today.
Ziggy is getting through that lettuce leaf. I'll leave you to enjoy that. Thank you, Helen, for joining us. Come with me this way as the organisers are continuing to get the event underway here. You can hear the drilling going on because we've got dancing dogs here, because the show here is all about how music is impacting your pet's trip hazard. Is a trip hazard here, and Lucy, who looks after Trip Hazard, you've been on Britain's Got Talent, came 5th on that. Also, European UK dog dancing champions.
Right, yeah.
How'd you get into this?
To be honest, we used to watch it at Crufts when I was younger, and I wasn't allowed a dog of my own, and I thought it was the most magical thing I'd ever seen, the bond between the dog and owner, and I just knew that when I got my first dog, I really wanted to give it a go.
And, I mean, if anyone fancies doing this at home, what's your advice?
Oh, find what your dog really, really loves, their favourite treats, their favourite toy, and definitely use that to teach them and reward them for all the tricks.
Well, have you got a treat for me to perhaps test something out now? Rummaging around for a treat. Right, we've been practising this all morning. Wish me luck. Volt, 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 volt. Hey, there we go. Oh, it was better earlier, but that is something I've learned this morning.
The People's Channel.
Good morning, 9:30 on Thursday, the 9th of October, live across the UK, Britain's Newsroom, with Andrew Pearce and Miriam Cates.
Well, it's an historic day as a peace plan is agreed to end the war in Gaza. Donald Trump says Israel and Hamas have signed off on the first phase of the deal. A ceasefire is expected to be declared in an hour's time.